going on? What's going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of What the Game Means to Me. Of course, I'm your host, Jelani Brown. Got my other host with me today, Thaddeus Bell. Gonna do our NFL wrap up show today. It's gonna be real loaded. I'm really excited for it. First, want to ask you, of course, how you are, Thad. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Long night. We were supposed to get the show done last night, but had a long night. We're ready to get to it. Long wrap up to get to, long season. A lot of ball to talk to. Long last show about football for a little minute. So excited, ready to get to it.
Definitely. Like I said, definitely gonna be a loaded show today, and like I said, looking forward to talking ball with you, of course, for sure. Um, well, first, before we even hit on anything, Valentine's Day tomorrow, I wanted to do a little off air talk, just ask got anything special planned, what you got going on, what you thinking about doing.
No significant other to that extent to where I'm spending money for Valentine's Day, but might have a little piece come through later. But I know you have something different planned.
Probably so. I'm thinking, well, she's in another room now, so I got to be quiet. But already, it's probably a little bit
Yeah.
of gifts. Maybe let's say we'll do a little bit something tomorrow. So, like I said, little different, but all in all, it's a day of love. Gonna spread that joy, gonna spread that love. But happy Valentine's Day for everybody else watching. Happy early Valentine's Day. But of course, like I said, let's hop into this ball talk. Of course, unfortunately, at least unfortunately to me, I didn't really want them to win, but others may be different. Buccaneers took the Super Bowl this year. Of course, coming up on top, 31-9 against the Chiefs. I guess just initial thoughts, initial reactions from watching the game. I know we talked off air, but like I said, just I guess it's almost been a week. How do you feel? Like what's resonated with you? What do you feel went right for the Bucs and wrong for the Chiefs?
Still in shock. Still mad that I lost my money.
Yeah, I was about to say, I
But
know you betted on it.
yeah,
Had to.
just shocked on both sides. Disappointed in how the Chiefs didn't adjust. You would think with the experience that Andy Reid had that they would have adjusted better and quicker. But by the Bucks, great game plan by Todd Bowles and great execution by Brady and the rest of his folks. You know, not what anybody expected. I knew the key going in was going to be the O line and the D line, but I just didn't think that they would get dominated like this. I mean, Pat Mahomes was running for his life. He had a rough day throwing two picks, going 26 to 49, but I have some like key stats that are kind of crazy.
Yeah.
He on 56 dropbacks, he was blitzed 6 times, which is 11% of the times, and he was pressured 29 times. And on 27 of those pressures, they only sent 4. So usually he kills people against the blitz for some reason, but they felt so comfortable with their front four that they only, they got pressure with 4 all day, and which is it's just crazy. If you can get pressure with 4 and you drop your guys back, and they played them once, so they had the game plan. They played cover 2, that everything, get in front of them, and they were successful. It was just shocking that Kansas City didn't run the ball. They came out in the third quarter and ran the ball effectively, and then they just went away from it, and Mahomes was running for his life all game. He did what he could, but and these aren't your typical Russians. Like there's some Russians that aren't that fast. I can't really think of any. I'd say DeMarcus Ware, he was a Russian, but he wasn't the fastest guy. But Shaq Barrett and Pierre Paul, they're like speedy guys. So you're not getting outside. They're containing.
Exactly.
So it was just a rough going, disappointing game, a shocker to many people. But Brady's the GOAT. He got his 7th ring. Did it in his first season with a new team, with a lot of help, but still he got it done.
Yeah.
So shocker. What are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, same here. Like I said, I know we texted and talked off air, but yeah, it was just overall shocking. You just kind of was waiting for the Chiefs to make that push, make that move. They've been in spots like that before, but time and time again, they kept shooting themselves in the foot, especially in the first half. In the second half, they weren't able to have any type of recovery. Like you said, the stat line for pressure and everything that Mahomes was receiving was just crazy. Like I said, I forgot what announcer said it at the end of the game, but he was like, they only blitz like you just said 4 or 5 times, and to get pressure with your front 4, and then basically have an extra DB in, have everybody drop back, and be in coverage and solid coverage. with those with the DBs that they do have, it's going to be tough on anybody. Especially with your two tackles out. But I don't know. The more, I guess it's been, like I said, a week. The more I start to realize, I watched Jeff. I don't know if he's watching, but he did like an all 22. He was kind of going over, what maybe changes the Chiefs could have made, or what may have been on Mahomes, what may have been on the offensive line, just things that could have been there. And it did change my mind a little bit. I was like, all right, there was a few times maybe. Sometimes the pocket was, it was decently clean, but receivers weren't really getting open. They kind of was maybe running the wrong routes, wasn't getting correct separation, or wasn't breaking off their routes a little bit. They basically wasn't helping Mahomes at all. And then other times, of course, it was the line. They pretty much like you said, pressure with four, let everybody kind of through. Mahomes had to run. What was the stat? He ran almost 500 yards.
Yeah, total. 497 yards.
Yeah, trying to get away from the pressure. So it's it was ridiculous the things that he had to pretty much go through in order to try to keep his team in some type of in the game at all. But there was times, obviously, they got in the red zone 3 times. They come up with 3 or close to the red zone. In the red zone maybe 1 time, but basically got 3 field goals at that. Some of those you got to convert into touchdowns. You just got to. But like I said, for me, it was smart on the Bucs end because we know typically with the Chiefs, they look for the big play. And regardless of how many yards they may have gotten in between, when they got between that 30, 20, those times that they did, they locked it down. They shut it down. Like I said, they sent that forward. They dropped everybody back in coverage because you still got to score no matter how many yards you're getting in between. The 20s, you still got to put you into the end zone. So to hold them the 3 field goals on the Chiefs side, you got to convert 1 or 2 of those into touchdowns. That could swing the momentum. On the Bucs side, that's you couldn't ask for anything more perfect, to get those field goals out of a explosive offensive team like the Chiefs. So all in all, it just wasn't the Super Bowl everybody was expecting. Not the Super Bowl I was expecting. Definitely was hoping more so of a shootout. But like you said, Tom and the guys, he pulled it off again. Say just it's new scenery, new coaching, new playbook. Obviously great weapons to help him out, but he did again. He showed, I guess, why he's the GOAT, why he's the greatest, and they pulled off something that no team has done as of yet. So congrats to them, hats off to them. But still was hoping for a better showing. I know you're sad. You lost your money. I lost a few bucks as well, but I guess just got to bite the bullet on this one and hope next year's a little bit different. But so we kind of know what the Bucs did right and wrong. We'll hit on what they did, right, and kind of like what won them the game. But I guess, you touched on it a little bit. What do you think the Chiefs, where did they go wrong? What should they have changed? Was it a scheming thing? I know a lot of people said they should have, obviously ran the ball more. Andy Reid even said it after in the game presser. They should have ran the ball a little bit more. What do you think they could have done to, change their outcome and maybe make this game a little bit closer?
The biggest thing was running the ball a little more because, like I said, they were effective coming on the second half. But, I like them when they had Mahomes on some rollouts, with the running back sealing the edge. Just stuff to keep the Russians on their heels, some screens here and there from under center. I know they don't do much under center, but some screens, some misdirection. But it was just tough, like they could have done stuff different, but once they got down by that large amount, the ends kind of just put their heads down and just rush freely because they knew they were going to be very, very pass happy. And that's the worst thing you can ask for against a team like that, especially with Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh. That's a very good front four, very I wouldn't say underrated now, but very undervalued front four, and they wreaked havoc. There's a lot of things they could have did on defense. They were just lost. I don't think there was anything they could have done. The Buccaneers had a very, very balanced attack with Fournette, and they were hitting everybody. Gronk, Braid, AB, Godwin a little bit, Mike Evans on a play action. It was just a balanced attack. They were pretty lost out there, and I think the Chiefs know in games like this, Mahomes can't be Superman every time, and he can't bail them out every time, so they're going to need more defensive help. But for the Chiefs, I really don't know. On defense, they just look lost. They were out game plan, outplayed, all that. Yep. And on offense, it'll come back to bite you when you have to go against a front four and a front seven like this, and then you've already played the team, so they have a game plan for you, and they know what went wrong the first time. And with all those offensive linemen out there, just wasn't too much they could have done. But for me, they should have ran the ball more.
Yeah.
To keep it balanced. Because they knew they were pass happy.
Yeah.
When you're not expecting to run, there's nothing you have to look for as a D, and you're just out beating the tackle to the edge. And when you have those second string and third string guys and they don't have many reps, it shows,
Yep.
Momo was too big. And that same tackle, I can't remember his name, Mike Rimmers, he was the same tackle for the Panthers that played in win versus Von Miller when he had that career day and won Super Bowl MVP. So this wasn't good. They could have schemed better on offense though, but I still feel like without those tackles in, the Chiefs might have lost the game because I feel like I'm not saying they found a blueprint, but they know what to do.
Yeah,
the Bucs do.
Exactly.
And one thing I want to say before you take over, I don't like everybody saying, they found a blueprint to stopping the Chiefs. Stop that. They're going 13-3 next year.
Yeah.
They'll figure it out. They'll figure something out, next time. But they finally met their match. And that's a good thing though, because they were for the past year and a half, they were these little 14-point and 21-point deficits were nothing to them, and they finally met their match. So
exactly,
it was meant to be. And if anybody, I was saying this to one of my friends, like if it was anybody, Brady would be the one to like break this streak because he knows how to handle big leads. He knows what to do. He knows what the Chiefs have done. Like he's going to control the clock. He's going to make smart decisions. He's been there before. So if anybody did it, I wasn't surprised that it was Brady. What are your thoughts though on the game plan?
Yeah, for me, same thing, kind of like you were just saying. The Chiefs probably should have ran a little bit more. At first, I had talked about kind of right after the game, with some of the guys in the Off the Ball Network, and it was basically saying to me it was a little misleading at first because Clyde Allaire, he basically broke out one for almost 30, and would he end up with 8 or 9 rushes for 64? So I was 8 rushes for 30 yards. That's still, you average that out, it's what about?
You said 8 for 30?
8 for So if you kind of take that one long one out, it's about 4, somewhere between 4 or 5 yards a pop, which that's solid numbers. Like I said, when you do the math, they honestly should have probably ran a little bit more. Obviously, they were down, by so many scores. Even in the third quarter, or beginning third quarter going throughout the third quarter, to where I guess that changes the game plan a little bit. But you still, like you said, you got to keep the defense honest at some point, to try to stack the box, to try to, just switch it up. Because like you said, they rushed forward. They had 3 high safeties a lot of the times. They just, had an extra DB. They just had people in coverage because they know the Chiefs wanted, that deep pass. They want to go for the long ball. They want that big play to pretty much break it all open, and they shut all that down. And to get that pressure with only 4 rushing, that's just, icing on the cake. So you got to keep the defense honest at somehow, some way, whether, it's going to take time off the clock or you don't, get those 4, 5, 6 yards of pop. You just got to do something to switch it up. And, rushing for, it couldn't have been no more than 12, 13 rushes as a whole the entire game. You can't really let that happen, especially against, I know the game plan probably coming in wasn't to run because the Bucs defense, I think, maybe finished first rush defense.
They were in the top 10 for sure.
Yeah, they were. I know they were like 3-5 for a while. So they might have finished first. They might not have. But regardless, obviously a good rush defensive team. Maybe that wasn't the plan coming in. But as a coach, being a head coach so long in the league, being an offensive guru and Andy Reid, you got to recognize and see what they're doing defensively and switch it up. So I do agree with them running more for sure. Also, like you said, it might not have made much of a difference. I think eventually that pass rush was going to, if it was a close game, whatever the case may be, that pass rush was going to get to Mahomes. I don't know if you could have pulled off the magic that he typically is able to do because, those tackles were out. We saw he was getting pressured and rushed all day. I don't know if it would have made much of a difference, especially the type of lead that they had, and just the confidence and everything that the Bucs was playing with. But you know, I don't know, like you just said, I don't think it just would. I just don't think it would have made much of a difference. I think, like you just said, it's not really them meeting their match. I think it was just, I think you said it, or someone said it. It's not like the NBA. You got 7 games to figure out your opponent. You got 1 game in football.
Yeah,
So he's
man.
like, if it's just not your day, it's just not your day. They were down Fisher. They were down. I forgot the other tackle's name.
Schwartz.
Yep. Yeah. So.
And then the other guy, their right guard, he was
Mhm.
he was helping out with COVID. I forgot his name. It's hard to say. He has
Yeah, I
like 2
remember
last names, but
him and Demarcus Robinson, I think, were put on the COVID list.
man, he was out the whole season. The guard.
Yeah, the one that
I
the one
can't
that
say it's like Tarioff.
opted out.
It's hard to say, but
Yeah.
he opted out, and that's 3 starters.
Yeah, so it just wasn't their day. Like you said, next year, I obviously think it'd be different. They already opened up as the Super Bowl favorites.
Yeah.
So you say it's just like you said, it's not like them meeting their match. Like you said, it's a veteran quarterback, a veteran staff that knows what to do with leads and knows how to control the ball, knew how to game plan against Patrick Mahomes. And with the guys on the line that were missing, they knew what to do, and I think that just showed. And that's why they won 31-9, honestly. So it was a
very dominant performance, though.
Yeah, and like you just said, kind of a coming down to earth game. Maybe for Pat and the Chiefs. They obviously, like, these last 2 years, their run was it's been pretty incredible to see. Whether they've been down by 14. What was they down by the Texans, like 24? Damn near
24-0.
Yeah, so it just shows, like, a team can be beat, but like you said, I don't think they found a blueprint. I just think they game planned and played the best possible game they could, and the Chiefs just didn't have their day. So, all in all, like I said, I think they'll be back. We may see a rematch, depending on who the Bucs are able to keep or not. I know we'll hit on that in a second in the show. But of course, before we move on to the whole NFL, just wrapping up the season in general. Giving out our game balls. So I'll let you go first, or game balls in our bench'em segment. So I'll let you go first, Dad, on this one.
Todd Bowles. I know he gets most of the credit, but the guys out in the field did the work. But he put out the game plan. He gave his guys a blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
He got in the lab. He was he was criticized a lot for playing a lot of man in the first matchup, which got Carlton Davis destroyed pretty much.
Of course.
And, he just got in the lab. He made the adjustments. He said, we're going to sit back. We're not even going to pressure him because Mahomes is very good against the blitz. We're going to sit back. We're going to trust our dominant front four. They can't run against us because they had a light box all game.
Mm-hmm.
And he sat in cover 2, and he didn't really change because it was working. He didn't get cute. He didn't try to get cute. He did send some corner blitzes and stuff, but for the most part, he stayed in his base defense, and it worked. He put his guys in position to be successful, and it ended up holding the Chiefs to 9 points, no touchdowns. Like, if you would have told me going into the game that Todd Bowles' defense would hold the Chiefs to 9 points, no touchdowns, and they win by 20.
Yeah, I see no way.
I think Mahomes in his career, he had never had a loss by more than a touchdown. Yeah, double digits. So tremendous effort. They struggled. He had to struggle for everything. Like, you'd think at one point in the game that they'd break out and have that long TD drive or that big play, but there were no big plays. If anything, it was going to come because of missed tackles or, stuff like that. But my game ball just goes to Todd Bowles for the job he did, setting his guys up for success, and they executed it to the fullest. This will go down as one of the best defensive performances in Super Bowl history, I think, because this is one of the most dominant offenses we've seen in I don't know how long, and they did a tremendous job. So for that reason, the game ball goes to him. What about you?
Yeah, mine, I didn't want to give it to him. Of course, I don't really like Brady that much, but of course, I just had to give it to him, even though a lot of times he was working with short fields because the punter couldn't punt, and Chiefs offense just couldn't make any type of move, push down the field. But he did what he was supposed to do. He found his favorite target, his old Pat's buddy Gronk 2 times in the end zone. I forgot. Let me see. I forgot to look up the stats, but overall, I forgot. At a point, I know he was like 16 for 20 with 3 TDs.
Yeah, Brady was 21 for 29 for like 201 and 3 touchdowns.
Exactly. Yeah. Not super big number yard wise, but again, when he
Did
got
what
the
he had to
ball
do.
and he got the ball and they got where they were supposed to be. On the offensive side, like I said, short fields, whatever the case may be, he led his team in the end zone. Versus, like I said, with the Chiefs, they got close, but was never able to punch it in. And that was the difference in the game. They were able to. They obviously, I think that the one. I don't think he threw for a touchdown, but obviously that one pass interference on Tyrann Matthews close to the end of the first half definitely hurt them. Hurt the Chiefs wise, even though they was coming out with the ball to start the second half. But that pass interference definitely hurt them, and they was able to push into the end zone. But like I said, just a game controller, did what he was supposed to do. Not big numbers, but led his team to victory. And sometimes it's not always about the numbers. It's just about leadership. Obviously, having the guys that haven't been there keep their heads, keep their composure, do what they're supposed to do, stick to the game plan, and come out with the win. And like you just said, overall dominant performance. Offense, like I said, they looked in a way they looked unstoppable. Like I said, because the Chiefs really had no answer. There were a few bad calls, but a lot of them were, of course, on the Chiefs' end. It was their fault. Like I said, the offsides on Chris Jones, Tyrann, even though it was an uncatchable ball, he still passed 10 yards. You can't put your hands on him, unfortunately. And yeah, like I said, Brady just did what he was supposed to do. Led his team to victory, got number 7. GOAT stats probably cemented. And yep, that's where my game ball is going to for this one. And of course, we do our Bench'em segment. I'll let you, of course, take the reins on this one and go again first, Dad. I know one or two of these guys in the picture obviously didn't get to play, but I had to try to find the best picture I could.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because your Bench'em, I could kind of blame him a little bit, but I'm gonna stick with the O line.
Yeah.
Just terrible effort overall. I know your coaches can scheme you to be in the best spots, sliding you with the double teams and certain things, but every time I looked up, there was O-line chasing a guy that was chasing Mahomes. It was just embarrassing for the most part. I know they're upset. Like you said, most of the guys in this picture didn't play, but just embarrassing. Your franchise guy, the best player in the league, you gotta help him out a little more. He was running for his life all game, getting hit, getting sandwiched. I just felt bad for him, and they didn't do a good job. Shaq Barrett had his way. They even had. I was looking at some tape, and they had Vita Vea on the outside, so pushing the edges so that Mahomes couldn't scramble out to the left. And it was just bad. Everybody had their way on the defensive side for the Buccaneers, and it was just embarrassing performance. I can't really go in depth about what particularly they did bad, but they just got beat. They didn't have a lot of heart. After a while, it's just like I said, it's about heart. You can't allow your man to beat you continuously throughout the game, and that's what happened.
Exactly. Just straight up off the line. This game.
I'm trying to, like, for real. I'm trying to think how many times out of the dropbacks Mahomes had, how many times he was scrambling.
How much time did he truly have? But like I said, shout out to Jeff again. Like he was kind of just pointing out the fact that obviously with like I said, we just talked about Brady's numbers weren't big, but that he took what they was giving them. Like they had a lot of dink and dunk passing underneath routes. He was hitting like little curls and all this and that. Like they schemed Gronk open on his 2 TDs, just like certain stuff like that. Versus, and I guess that kind of rolls into my Bench'em with Andy Reid. Kind of just rolls into with Pat Mahomes. They never did. I know that's not the type of ball they play, but you gotta eventually start to do that. Like I said, we already talked about they should have started running a little bit more. Regardless of how many scores you're down, you just gotta keep the defense honest. And like I said, with the offensive routes that they were running, like everything was just deep, and it just took so long for everything to open up for the receivers, for Kelsey, Hill, and all those guys. And having, like I said, 3 high safeties and so many people, back deep anyway, is going to be hard to, it's just going to basically be hard to hit those deep routes. And obviously with the line not holding up their guys, holding up their end of the bargain, Pat Mahomes having to rush around and try to, scheme and find guys open. just a recipe for disaster. So, at some point you got to switch it up a little bit. I know they have something in their playbook to where they, can start going short passing game, maybe some screens, like just anything to, like I said, to get the ball into their playmakers' hands, but not it be, a deep shot or a deep ball. Because like I said, that pretty much is all covered and it had been covered throughout the entire game. And that's what the Bucs started out playing. That's what they ended up playing. So that's why, I got to give my bench him, even though he's not a player. Andy Reid, said, just obviously guru that he is. It's just you have to do something. You have to change something within the flow of the game. You obviously see the deep ball is not working. The line is, pieced together. You don't have your starting tackles. And like Dad already said, you don't have the guard that opted out for the year. You got to give your, Pat Mahomes some type of help with that front four. Honestly, that front seven with Baird and David and White that the Bucs have. So that's my bencher for the week. Definitely just had to scheme a little bit better. Whether it was doing even going throughout the first half with what they came into the game doing or wanting to do, and then second half seeing what had already progressed and just changing it up. Like I said, they came out second half. I think they ran the ball maybe 2 times in a row, and then they kind of just didn't run the ball no more. So you just got to be a little bit better overall. I think he knows it. Like I said, he already said that he should have ran a little bit more, but no, that's my bench for the week. Andy Reid, sorry, buddy. But like I said, moving on from the Super Bowl, we'll hit on it a little bit later again, but definitely want to talk about the NFL season as a whole. Just thoughts on it in general. I know we talked about it a little bit on a different show that we're surprised that we even got to the end. We're surprised that we got 2 teams in general. There was a big scare with a bunch of teams like COVID, which is pretty much riddled throughout a lot of locker rooms this year. But we got through it. We made it. So just thoughts on the NFL season as a whole. I know it's one that's definitely going to go down in the history books because it's one I don't think we'll ever, see or have to partake in again, but who knows. But like I said, just your initial thoughts and just reaction about the season as a whole, Dad.
Shout out to Roger Goodell for getting through the season. We had a lot of postponements, but we didn't have any cancellations, so that's big. Getting through the season when I didn't expect it to, without a bubble. For like the NBA, I expected them to do it once I saw halfway through the bubble, I saw how successful it was. But for the NFL, I didn't think that was going to be the case, and it ended up being the case. Nobody, no player that got COVID that had maybe any underlying health issues passed away. So that's a good thing too. Everything just went as planned. Now I wouldn't say when it's planned, but I feel like I don't know who Roger Goodell talks to, but I feel like even they had a little bit of doubt that,
of course,
that they wouldn't be able to get through the season. But it happened. Hey, they did their job, so kudos to them. Just shout out. It was a good season, Some teams got hit harder with COVID than others, which was weird, but it is what it is. But, I can't really say much. Shout out to them just for getting through the season and nobody really getting hurt, nobody's significant other, no babies, nobody else, getting affected that we know of from COVID. So that's the main thing, health. But season, no postponements to the season. We didn't have to push the Super Bowl back, any of that.
Yeah. So, I'm glad you just said as well. My fault.
Yeah, real quick onto the season. Just good season, competitive season. We had a new Super Bowl champ, which is good. We don't need too many repeats. Just a good season. A lot of new teams shining, which we're going to get to later. But overall, exciting season, and I don't think we could ask for much more. Only thing we could ask for was a better Super Bowl.
Yeah. I'd second that as well. But yeah, just piggyback off of you, of course. Glad no families were severely affected from what we know, like any deaths or anything like that. Shout out to NFL Roger Goodell for somehow getting this done. I think we said on another show as well. It's the first year in NFL history that a game was played on every single day of the year, or every single day, of the week. Typically, like I say, we don't see that. Obviously, it's Thursday, Monday, Sunday. But yeah, it was one game played on each and every day of the week this year. Like I said, they did, I guess, a good job of scheduling, moving things around, getting games, you know, played when I guess they're supposed to. There was a few different hiccups, I will say. I forgot which teams were involved. I think they pushed back Pittsburgh's a few times because Ben wasn't going to be able to play or something like that, and then they didn't do it for another team. I think like the Patriots or something. But basically, there's a few hiccups, but all in all, they were able to get it done, timely and effectively as best as possible given the circumstances. Season wise, though, I'm kind of happy this one's done and over with. Wasn't really happy to see the Bucs win, but like you said, I guess it's cool to see another team win it. A little bit of history be made with them being the first team to play in their home stadium for a Super Bowl. But my Falcons were pretty trash. I feel like they could have or should have been in the playoffs somehow, some way, but they ruined their chances pretty much week 2. Actually, before a ball was even snapped because we brought back Dan Quinn for the year. But yeah, overall, like I said, different season, weird season. One I'm hoping we don't have to experience again, being instead of COVID. Different schedules, everything being moved around, the uncertainty, different teams having key players opt out, all that good jazz. So all in all, glad it was over. Glad we was able to even experience and see football though, because I know obviously it probably shouldn't have been the first concern, but I know obviously coming up on fall after COVID hitting everything around February, March, the number one thing people was worried about, especially after March Madness got canceled, was football in the fall. We're going to be able to watch sports, or we're going to be able to have a season. We're going to be able to go to the games and stadiums, and all that. So overall, shout out to everybody that was involved in the NFL for putting on a tremendous season and being able to crown a champion in the end. But definitely looking forward to 2021 and hopefully we're getting back to a more normal way of life by then. So maybe get to go see some games. Like I said, everybody's team's fully healthy, back in full effect, and we're able to, just go back and have a normal season. But yeah, again, just shout out to everybody involved. And letting the Bucs celebrate their championship as well too. But next thing I want to move on to is the playoff teams that did make it. And pretty much the next steps that they can take to either get back to the playoffs or be the next Super Bowl champions. So I guess we can start off with the AFC first. Of course, we had Baltimore, the Bills, Kansas City, the Browns, Indianapolis, and the Titans make the playoffs on that side of the conference or side of the NFL. So that we'll start. I guess we'll start with the Ravens. They've made it to the playoffs last 3 seasons, but have never been able to really take that next step. They did beat the Titans this year on the road, but was overmatched and overpowered when they faced
the Bills.
This year. So I also looked at the Steelers. They made the playoffs as well. But what do you think, I guess, they need to do in order to, I guess, take that next step and get over that hump? Do you think it's a Lamar thing? Do you think it's teams that just figured him out? Or what do you think they need to do in order to, maybe get into the Super Bowl next year?
Yeah, I'll keep this short because we have 14 teams. But
yeah,
for me, the Ravens, I'm not even going to go Lamar or the scheme. I think they need to add another threat, a receiver. I wouldn't say, another receiver, a wide receiver 1. Hollywood, he my guy. His speedster, he's a good receiver, but he's not a number 1. Like, a team can put just a regular corner on him, and on that corner's best day, they might be able to take him out the game. So for me, it's getting Lamar another deep threat because early in the season, they were keying into the plays. Lamar and them said they were calling out the plays. So you need to, and it's mainly, run plays. So they need to be more versatile and have some more weapons. I know Willie Snead's a nice guy. Mark Andrews is a good tight end, but you need to add a guy, a dude, just a dog out there. So for me, that's it, because in the secondary, they're pretty good after their little Earl Thomas debacle. They're pretty good in the secondary with Peters and Humphrey. I don't really know who they have in the secondary. I don't pay attention, but Patrick Green's the emerging linebacker. and they have Ngakoue, Calais Campbell, and some other guys. So I don't think defense is their problem. They play pretty. They play tough ball in Baltimore, but if they want to go any further, they need to add another threat in the pass game.
Yeah, I believe that as well. Because, like you said, defense shouldn't be their problem. I think they have everybody pretty much locked up and on good contracts. Who they got secondary? Marlon Murphy, Jimmy Smith, and what you call it? You know what I'm talking about. But my guy from LA, from Compton,
Marcus Peters.
Yeah, Marcus Peters. So, and like you just said as well, Patrick Queen, emerging linebacker, Calais Campbell, and those guys on the line. Defense is fine. They definitely do need another deep threat. They need another weapon. You can't bring in Des Bryant and think he's about to, I guess, be the game changer that you need at receiver.
This is not 2014.
Obviously, yeah. Like you just said, Hollywood Brown. He's not. I don't know if they kind of saw maybe like a Tyreek Hill type of guy in him, player in him, but I don't think he has like that. He is fast, but I don't think he has that blow off the top type speed to where, like you say, he can just be a number one receiver. And he can just be a threat. But maybe I could be wrong. Maybe if they do get another number one type receiver, he can be like that Tyreek Hill type guy to where they, the attention is taken off him a little bit and he can, make more plays in the passing game. But yeah, like we said, I'm gonna keep it short. That's definitely it. They definitely need another weapon on the outside or in the slot, whatever the case may be. They just need another number one receiver. And I think this is the year to do it because there's a lot of number one type receivers, or at least really good receivers in free agency. So everybody's been talking about the quarterback carousel. I'm looking forward to where these receivers go, honestly, because that's going to change a lot of people's offense. Yep, exactly, and the draft.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Yeah, you're good. Yeah, let's say with the draft as well. I forgot Chase. Obviously,
Smith,
Waddle, yeah, and then
there's always sleepers.
The guy from Minnesota, yeah, and then there's always this guy that just pop out like that you don't even be knowing.
Like the second round, the third round is where you get the dogs at.
Exactly. So they got to, whether it's draft or whether it's signing. That's just what they need. They got to do it. All right, Bills. We'll go on to them.
This one's going to be quick and easy. They need some running back help. When you drop back 4 times in a row in a regular possession, but like you wouldn't. I don't think you would rarely. Maybe the Chiefs, but you don't see teams rarely drop back and 4 times in a row on the drive. They'll at least hand the ball off 1 time. In the Bills, didn't do that because maybe they're not confident in their guys. So maybe Devin Singletary, who else did they have? TJ Yeldon, and there was another guy that I'm missing. Zach Moss. Zach Moss. Maybe Zach Moss got hurt, so maybe when they lost him, that was their guy, and they abandoned the run game. But to be successful, I think they need every down back pretty much. They're pretty good in the pass game. I would say, I said this earlier, adding another weapon because Cole Beasley would be a slot guy. John Brown, somewhat of a slot guy, but another guy on the other side of Diggs. He was successful this year, but they're going to key in more on him. So,
yeah.
In the wide receiver heavy draft, I don't know why they wouldn't. And on the defensive side, there's not too much. They have a lot of corners, Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, some solid safeties. Tremaine Edmonds. I might be getting the name wrong, but him and Matt Milano are holding it down in the linebacking core. And the D-line is pretty solid. So I would say for me, the main thing is a running back, but they might have some small other pieces they might need to fill, like a wide receiver 2 or maybe a piece on the defensive side of the ball. But for me, my number one need would be a running back. If Zach Moss isn't there, I don't know. I haven't been in the building, haven't been in practice, so I don't know what they're thinking. But if it was me, I would go offense first.
Yeah.
In one of those 2 spots.
I can see that as well. I think I have to look. I think I got it up here somewhere, but their needs, like I said, I would definitely go running back as well because I've been saying all year, like it's just gonna bite them in the butt at some point. They can't just be passing the whole game. Like you just said, they're gonna key in on Allen and Diggs. Like that's pretty much what had been working. And it did work up pretty much all the way up to the end of the year. When they had to face KC again, but they just need that balance. They need a running attack. They also maybe need a little bit more help on the defensive line. I know a few people said they can use another edge rush. I've seen even some people, which we're going to get to later on in the show, they want JJ Watt to go up there. But those are two things I think that they should hit on. They can't hit on another receiver. Doesn't hurt whatsoever. Like you said, they do got kind of two slot guys. If they have another outside threat, that can pair with Diggs, they makes them just even more elite and explosive. So definitely, I agree with you on that, and pretty much those same things I said, either defensive line or back help, and then a receiver couldn't hurt anybody. Steelers.
This is I don't want to disrespect Big Ben. He's my guy, but for me, I don't know Haskins. I still believe in Haskins, so I'm gonna scrap that. I believe in Big Ben for another year. His elbow's a little sore. Haskins, I think he'll have a nice bounce back sitting under Big Ben. I'm going running back. James Conner is not Le'Veon. I know they were hoping he might be, but he's not. And Benny Snell is not.
Yeah,
he's a hard-nosed runner. He's gonna give you effort. He's gonna run hard, but he's not that guy. So I'm gonna go running back. They have a solid little receiving core with Claypool, Juju. I don't know if they're going to re-sign him, and Deontay Johnson. Then they got Ebron and another guy tight end. So I'm going running back. They need a run game. Their offensive line got soft, and they just like the Bills, which is crazy. They abandoned the run game. There were some games where they dropped back, even though it was dink and dunk passes. They throw the ball 50 times a game, which is unnecessary, and it lost them some games. So I'm going running back.
Yeah,
I said this in a previous episode. I see them, if Najee Harris falls to them, I could see them taking them in the first round.
Oh yeah, definitely. That might need to be who they key in on if he does fall that far. But yeah, like you said, quarterback wise, there is some questions there just because of what Haskins has done on and off the field. But bringing them in, I think Pittsburgh is probably the best situation, just the overall best situation for him. I think that type of organization would do him well, and maybe a year under Roethlisberger, maybe they'll turn him over in 2 years and he'll be ready to go. But still maybe some questions there. Like you say, running back for sure. I can, if Najee Harris falls to them, I can see, and they're able to keep their tandem of weapons. At receiver, I see them because defense has never really been a question for them. It wasn't a question for them this year either. They're pretty stout on that side of the ball. So it's really just all offensive help. I think I looked it up as well. They need a little bit of, I guess, interior offensive line help as well. So maybe a guard. Obviously they're nowhere, near. I don't even know if he plays guard. Probably play guard and tackle, but Penei Sewell, they're nowhere near able to draft him unless they.
Wait, are you talking about for the Steelers?
Yeah, I'm talking about for the Steelers. Like they just, it's one of the things I looked up. They said they need some like guard help. So
I hate to break it to you, man, but he's not.
Oh yeah, I said I was saying there's no way he's gonna fall to them unless they just give a
I think that's Cincy's guy.
Yeah, I was saying exactly. I was saying unless they give a shitload of picks and players, trade up somehow, some way, which I don't think they would do. That's the only way I was saying like that would be able to happen. But those are the three biggest needs that they have, and I don't know which ones they're gonna address first, or if they're gonna address all of them and be able to hit all of them. But yeah, those are the questions, and they can easily get back to the playoffs. But like I said, they gotta fix those things, and mainly probably the running attack. Because like you said, they had a few like games in the beginning of the season that James Conner looked like he would, be all right, feeling well, and then they have a nice little rotation. But like you said, they abandoned it hard. So, and Big Ben, I don't count on Big Ben throwing the ball 50, 60 times a game and you winning. I can't see that happening. So, but next we'll move on to Indianapolis. This should be interesting.
Short and simple quarterback. Philip Rivers, like I said, he probably can't even throw the ball over 40 yards. The defense was a surprise this year. Ben Stout, I thought they had some holes, but they have some. I wouldn't even say just some guys, but they have some solid players that play well in the scheme and they play together, and that's all you need for defense. So they rally to the ball well, they play their assignment, and they make plays. That DeForest Buckner trade was game-changing, and that showed first-round picks aren't that valuable because you can trade it, but you got to hit on the guy. And when you trade one for established player, it shows. But for me, I'm going quarterback. That's you got T.Y. Hilton. He's getting older, but you got some speedy guys, Paris Campbell, and then you got Michael Pittman, who I've always been fond of ever since his days at USC. You got some guys. You got the first or second best line in the game, and a promising running back, Jonathan Taylor, who fell to them in the second round. So I say the only thing really missing is quarterback. Maybe you want to fill a receiver, but their main need if they want to go further, quarterback is the main position in sports, and it's the best position in football. So you gotta, if you want to win, you gotta have that guy behind the center. And I'm one of few people, but I think Carson Wentz is going to be their guy, and I think he's a capable player. He just needs to get out of Philly, a new change of scenery.
Yeah.
Frank Reich, him and Carson did well together. So I think that'll be their guy, and that's their biggest need.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say. You hit on it before, you finished off. I think Carson's their guy as well. They obviously do need a quarterback with Phillip Rivers retiring. I don't know what that was the other day. I didn't read too much into it because I forgot what I was doing, but like a little bit of rumblings of Andrew Luck unretiring or something. Did you I guess see or read anything on that? Okay, yes, I seen it somewhere. A few people was talking about tweeting. I didn't look into it or try to read on it or nothing, but obviously I don't think that's gonna happen. But anyway, like I said, I think Carson Wentz is their guy. Obviously, quarterback I think is their number one need. Everything else I think they're pretty stout at as well. Like they have 3 teams in a row. It's the third one. The AFC has some solid defenses. Like I said, they have great linebackers. They got a nice front four, like you said, that trade for trade for Buckner. Definitely help put them over the edge in that front 7. They have solid DBs as well. I think quarterback, and I would say another wide receiver, just because T.Y. doesn't really look the same this year, last year. Like it's kind of like it looks like he's kind of like on the decline.
Ever since Andrew Luck left.
Yeah, exactly. And what you call it, Pittman. Obviously, it's his first year. I think not every receiver pops off in the first year. Maybe not even the second year. They kind of all have their time. We saw it this year with Corey Davis. Like a lot of people was about to give up on him, but he had a really, really good season. So, I think them adding another weapon though wouldn't hurt. Like you said, they got some young and capable receivers, but maybe a game changer with, like you said, so many, or like I said, so many receivers being available for free agency, and like you said, so many receivers being available in the draft. So another team that maybe needs some offensive help, quarterback and wide receiver. Titans.
For me, I would say neither for now. Like you just said, Corey Davis showed that I wouldn't say he was worth the number 5 pick, which I think he was, but he had a breakout season. Ryan Tannehill has been consistent. I don't know where his stats were, but they were damn good this year. He didn't fall off. He had a very good season. So I'm going to stay away from that. For me, I'm going to go secondary. Dory Jackson has struggled a little bit. Christian Fulton is okay, but I don't think he's the guy. So for me, no. Scrap that. I'm sorry. That's the second thing. Secondary. First thing, they need some damn pass rush. Vic Beasley and Clowney weren't.
Yeah.
Those were 2 wastes of signings. Vic Beasley, I think they cut him early.
Yeah.
And Clowney, I don't know what it is, man, but he just hasn't lived up to what everybody thought he was supposed to be. But for me, the biggest thing for them is pass rush. They quarterbacks sit pretty when they play them for the most part. And that's way different from the days when I was growing up, like with Javon Curse and people like that. But they the biggest thing for them is pass rush on defense. So I think that's what they need to go get. I don't think they're picking low enough. I mean, I don't think they're picking at the bottom of the first round to get the guy Thibodeau or Roche from Miami, but they need to get a pass rusher in free agency or the draft, or it won't be good because you can have. I know Dory and Christian Fulton struggle. Like I said, they need secondary help too. But even if they were lockdown corners, they can only lock up for so long. So you need that pressure. And that's what I think they need to D-end.
Yeah. Maybe it's just obvious to everyone, but we're pretty much sweeping in agreeing with almost everything. Like their defense was terrible, trash. I don't even know another word for it. Like, it just was ridiculous because I think they were like 20. They was ranked 20 something. Like 27, 20. Yeah, just pretty much at the bottom. I think like 27 pass. I don't remember what rush was. I know it's like somewhere high as well, like 24, 25 maybe. Yeah, they need edge rush for sure. Like you said, Clowney hasn't really lived up to anything. I already knew Vic Beasley was going to be a waste once they signed him. I was just glad he was out of here. Cornerback definitely need help. Losing boy, I forgot his name. It just left my mind. But
What
the one
position?
the one corner that they didn't want to re-sign this past off season.
I forgot they had Malcolm Butler this year too, but who didn't they
Yeah,
want to resign?
I forgot his name. I can't think of it right now. It'll probably come to me later. But I don't even remember where he went. But it was a corner. They was kind of debating on whether they wanted to give him money or not, and they ended up not, giving it to him. I'll figure it out later on. But yeah, those are two things that they need, and they need it fast and in a hurry because offense can't carry you. Obviously, Derrick Henry ain't gonna be able to carry both sides of the ball. Tannehill neither. Corey Davis and AJ Brown. They just need a defense to be able to stop somebody because offensively, we saw they climbed back in a lot of games that they were down big in. But why were they down big in them? Because probably the defense couldn't stop a soul. So that's what they need help in. I don't know what they can do to take that next step in the playoffs. Being in, it looks like the AFC is continuing to grow and just be better each and every year. So, I don't know what they can do to get over the hump, but they definitely need help on the defensive side of the ball. And I think to finish off the AFC, and we'll hit on the NFC real quick, the Browns.
For me, this one is going to be tough because it's not really a need, but they could fill this spot on offense. I think they're pretty good. I'm gonna ride out with Baker for a little bit. They got the two-headed monster with Chubb and Hunt. Their old line was very, very good this year, and the receiving core got it done. Even though people don't really know who's on the receiving core besides Jarvis Landry and maybe Higgins, but they got it done, and their tight end core is probably the best in the league, in my opinion. But
yeah,
I'd say they can add a little bit of help in the linebacker core. I would say secondary, but I'm going to leave. I'm going to be patient because they had two young guys that were hurt, Greedy most of the year, and then their guy Grant Delpit, he tore his Achilles in preseason, so he wasn't there. That's two guys that were supposed to be starters, and they got Ronnie Harrison. So I'm going to say they can just add some depth in the linebacking core. I don't know who's really there besides Mac Wilson and there's another guy that's there, but I can't think of his name at the time. So I think they should add depth there. And maybe if they didn't resign Olivier Vernon, put some help on the other side of Myles Garrett. But other than that, I think they're set. They played well against the Chiefs, in my opinion. So I think they're, just building on the momentum they have right now. They got a solid foundation. I think they found their coach. So, just keep pushing and add depth in places that you were weak. And like I said before, I watch these teams. I don't know anybody in the front office, so I don't know what their needs are. Who's really, really struggling. So I can only go by what I see for the most part and my knowledge. Yeah.
Same here. Yeah, they're going to be one of my teams, obviously, that overachieved as well. I mean, in a way, I know last year, everybody wrote them off to Super Bowl once they made the trade for Odell and then signed all these free agency guys in free agency. But in a way, they kind of overachieved. Winning 11 games, with a new head coach, no offseason, just, a bunch of change in general. That's pretty impressive. Like you said, safeties would be on the only question, but they do got two young guys that are really, really good. And when they come back for injury, I'm pretty sure they're going to show that as well. Like I said, just depth maybe on the interior defensive line, maybe some interior pressure, some run stopping help for Myles Garrett and, Vernon on the outside, like you said. Linebacker, they're pretty set as well, but like you just said, depth can never hurt. Offensively, obviously, they got a two-headed monster in the run game. If they don't trade them, they will get Odell and Jarvis back, and Higgins, like you said, has emerged. They got a really, really good tight ends, Harrison Bryant, Njoku, and my guy here in Atlanta that left. Forgot his name, but
Hooper.
Yeah, Hooper. So they're pretty much set on offense. As long as Baker continues to grow and starts to flourish, in his role as leading that team, they don't really got any questions on that side of the ball. Just more depth on the defensive end, and they're going to pretty much give the Ravens and Steelers and I guess everybody else in the AFC a little bit of a scare whenever they have to play them. So
it should be a good division.
Definitely, I think that's at first the best division in football to me this year. Like probably the first half of the year, definitely was the NFC West. But to close out the year to end it all off, I think the AFC North probably definitely takes the cake.
Yeah, the Bengals, they're. I think they'll be okay. They're coming a little.
Yeah, especially with Joe Burrow being back healthy.
Yeah, they got the position they need, so they should be taking steps forward.
Yep, filling all the other little holes that they have. Like you said, offensive line for one, because he wouldn't have been hurt if their offensive line was somewhat decent. And then just building up the rest of the defensive side of the ball. So yeah, that's going to be a fun division to watch in the next upcoming years. And well, once the Steelers figure out who they're going to get at quarterback, everybody in that division at QB is pretty young. So let me see. And obviously, we're going to move on to the NFC now. Did we even do Kansas? We did Kansas City for the Super Bowl.
I'm about to say that. I mean, there's not really much.
Yeah, I'm about to say we don't really.
Some help on the D line, and maybe I wouldn't even say offensive line help. They just got to keep people healthy. So yeah, we can move on from that one.
Honestly, exactly.
But we're gonna make it a little quicker.
Yeah. Let's hit on. We'll do the Bucs last because they won the championship, obviously. But we'll hit on Seattle. We'll hit on Seattle first.
This is going to be very quick for me. Offensive line help. That's the reason why Russ spoke out on the Dan Patrick show. He was tired of getting hit. It's been going on for some years. They got him a little help with DK, which they slipped up on, but he's been getting hit for years. That's why they traded for Dwayne Brown from the Texans. So it's a quick one for me. But their defense need help too. So it's a tough one. But the best, you got to protect your quarterback. That's the main thing. Scrap defense. You need to keep your franchise guy clean, and he's very unhappy at the moment. Maybe that has a little bit to do with his wife being a superstar. She needs to be in not Seattle. So
yeah,
QB1 clean so he doesn't want out.
Yeah, the superstar wife started to try to make put little bugs in the guy's ear and try to make moves certain areas. Obviously, she might want to go to LA, maybe New York, maybe even who knows back home. Here in Atlanta, but more likely LA, something like that. It's kind of close, but like you just said, got to keep him happy. They definitely need some defensive help, some work on that side of the ball. But you invested so much money in Russell, you got to invest in some guys that can protect him as well. So I think that's a little bit. They definitely need some type of help on the offensive line. But obviously, defense is where a lot of the work comes in. I think they need to still find another corner, another lockdown, shutdown corner. I think there's a few guys in the draft that could be that. They have the potential maybe, but more than likely, I feel like they need to go and get one of these free agents. Maybe, who knows? I don't know if he still has that. I think he still does that number one type corner in him, at least to help on the other side with Griffin. But Patrick Peterson, you never know. Like I said, we're going to get to that later on in the show as well. But they definitely, I think, need another corner and another edge rush too, I guess. Yeah, I think that's the two probably biggest things I'd say.
When they got Carlos Dunlap from the Bengals, their pass rush got better. So.
Yeah, I would say if they get another guy on the opposite side of him, it should put them right back in, I won't say elite format, but they should be capable to rush the passer and get a little bit of pressure on opposing quarterbacks. So, Washington football team.
Quarterback. Their defense played well. A lot of young pieces, a lot of young players, and a lot of young pieces that played well. I wouldn't mess with that for a while. I know this. I wouldn't mess with it. I know this is a little weird, but I have them in the Madden franchise, so I know they got some young pieces. And so, yeah, I'm going to go with quarterback. Alex Smith is obviously not the answer. Heineke, they signed him because he played well, so he's a solid backup. Shout out to him. He's a Gwinnett guy, but you need a quarterback. Terry McLaurin's got it done with mediocre quarterbacks for these first two seasons. So I like to see them get him a guy and to add some help. They have some guys playing well at tight end, but I don't know if they're the future. Logan Thomas, people like that. But my main thing would be quarterback. Like I said before with the Colts, if you don't have the guy, you can't win the big game. So until they get that guy, they can't think about getting to the playoffs or having any playoff success. So I'm going to go quarterback.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I guess they thought Dwayne was the guy. Obviously, wasn't the guy.
Yeah.
Everything else though, they pretty much, as an organization as a whole, I'm gonna shout them out first. Like they've done and took in the right necessary steps. Obviously, with scrapping the Redskin, or sorry, I won't say the R word, but the R word, scrapping that. Pick wise, they got Chase Young. Their whole front four is incredible. Kerrigan. Sweat, just a nice pieces on the defensive side, but especially in the front seven. Like you just said, they need a quarterback desperately. Outside of that, they probably need a wide receiver as well desperately. And it's crazy to see, like, most of these playoff teams that we keep talking about, everybody needs offensive help. We literally been hitting on offense the entire time, but yeah, they definitely need a quarterback, whether that's in the draft or they try to pry away one of these guys, Deshaun Watson or whoever else, Sam Darnold possibly, in some type of trade. But yeah, quarterback and wide receiver, they need it. Like you said, Scary Terry has done a great job with very, very mediocre quarterbacks, and it'd be crazier to see what he can do with another guy opposite of him that can, take some pressure off of him, and then a quarterback that can give him and the other guy the ball. So definitely quarterback and receiver for me, for them. Next, we'll hit on Chicago.
Chicago for me is tough. I say Allen Robinson is on his way out because he's not really happy with the organization. But I want to go quarterback again. It depends. Indy and Chicago is tough because I know those are the top two destinations for Carson Wentz. So if they get him, I think they'll be fine. But for me, that's their biggest need. Defense wasn't what it was in 2018 and 2019. I can't recall exactly what year that was, but it was one of the two. But I'm going to go with offense. They have a little bit of weapons, but if they don't re-sign A-Rob, they need another weapon. But they need a quarterback regardless. So it's a tough situation, but they just need, for me, offensive help. David Montgomery played well to end the season, but he tweeted something the other day thanking Chicago for his first couple of years. So it's a tough one. For me, I'm going to just go overall offense. They need offensive help. Start off, like I've said previously in this episode, the quarterback is the number one need for any team that's needing a quarterback.
Yeah. It seems like it's a lot of teams that we talking about need quarterbacks as well. It's the most important position in football, as you know. But just offense. I'm just gonna keep it short and sweet. Offense. Like you said, they may lose Allen Robinson. Quarterback wise, there's so many questions. With obviously they're not comfortable with Mitch.
Nobody is, man.
Yeah, nobody is. So just offense. Running back wise, I don't even know. David Montgomery has been okay, but I still think they can upgrade maybe at that spot as well. I know like they had a tandem with him and Cohen because Cohen's more so of the receiving back, and they can kind of switch him in and out. But maybe they may need a guy that maybe he's just best in the pass and in the run that can do both. Just offense. So yeah, keep it short and sweet, like you said. The Rams.
For me, they just got their QB1. This was a tough one for me because their defense played so well. So I wouldn't say another corner on the other side of Jalen Ramsey. Their pass rush was there. For me, I go linebacker help and additional line help because Andrew Whitworth is getting old. He's played well. I think he's had a Hall of Fame career.
Yeah.
But he's really old. Like, I remember watching him in Hard Knocks when the Bengals were around, and I was like 10 years old, and I'm 23 now. So he's been around for a minute. So I'm going to go additional, it wouldn't hurt to have any depth. So O-line depth or linebacker help because their receiving core is young, well, not young, but Van Jefferson is nice. Cooper Kupp is somewhat young, but he's not young, so I can't say that. But they have the guys in those spots. And Cam Akers was a bright spot towards the end of the season, so I don't see them getting a running back. So I'm going with additional O-line help, but before they might add the defensive piece, but apparently they don't think they need one because they don't have any first, second round picks. So
yeah,
we shall see.
Exactly. Yeah, they just got to hit on them later round picks. They do pop up. So, but yeah, like you just said, I don't know how much longer he got. I guess he's looked okay for as long as he's been playing. Yeah, but
that's you get. I don't know.
I don't see it on the offensive line too. That's the trenches, boy. You can't. I don't know how much longer he's gonna be able to last, but I guess he just built differently. But yeah, I feel like you just said, if not address the offensive line, have somebody to come in to take his place eventually within the next year or two. I can definitely see like a hybrid type of linebacker or somebody that can come off of the edge as well. Rush passer, like a Dante Fowler type guy, obviously that we signed here in Atlanta. Like that did wonders for them when they had him and Robert Quinn because he could put his hand in the dirt or he can come off the edge and 2-point stands, which I feel like he's better at anyway. I think, like I said, I don't want to talk about my Falcons, but I think that's why I was a little skeptical when we did get him because he can't be no number one guy. We need another guy that can take the attention off and on the other side that can help him create pressure. But yeah, I can see them definitely going that route, like a hybrid type linebacker. So definitely say in agreement of that with that one. Saints. Yeah, Saints. We got Green Bay.
Saints is a tough one. You know, most people will say quarterback, but I believe in Jameis. They got AK. Their O-line is dominant. I would say add another. Oh, I'm going to start with offense first. On offense, to add another weapon. Emmanuel Sanders is old. Mike Thomas needs to do a little more, so they need to add a deep threat to take the top off because, you know, they call him Slant Boy for a reason. So but he's a good route runner, but he's not going to take the top off, so they need that. But on the defensive side, I would go with maybe some linebacker help. It's hard because their secondary is pretty stout. I know age is different. It's different in Madden and stuff like that. In real life, like Janoris Jenkins is 33. Like a game, he'd be useless, but in real life, he still has a couple more years. So I'm gonna just go add in linebacker depth. Demario Davis and Anzalone are somewhat old, so that's why I say that. So they could add some depth there, but their D line is good. Cam Jordan is not aging like that. He's still he's not dominant, but he's a very solid player. And Hendrickson, man, every time I watch the Saints, he's popping off my screen making plays. They also have Davenport, so I would say linebacker depth. And some receiver depth. Well, a guy that could take the top off. And I don't think they would go with one in the first round, but I could see them finding one in the second or third round. So,
yeah. Hopefully, James is the answer. I don't want to give up on him at all. I don't think they will. I think the same. Just like I said for Haskins going to Pittsburgh was the right situation. I think James being in New Orleans for a year, learning under Drew Brees, and those guys really will help out as well. And I think he has to get the nod going into this upcoming year. So I don't think it's a super duper need. If not, I guess they still will use their utility guy. Somehow, some way. Obviously, we saw he can't be no starting quarterback in this league, but I think James should come in with the starting role, and he should be all right. Wide receiver, I can definitely see them needing another guy on the opposite side of Michael Thomas. If they do have Emmanuel Sanders for another year and kind of moving him to the slot, and kind of just being that veteran leader role model that makes timely plays, because I don't think he's the second. He's a true second option at this point in his career.
100%, bro.
Yeah. And the other guys are just kind of pedestrian. Deontay Harris. I mean, he eats electric, but he's kind of like a utility guy as well as sweeps, maybe a screen, like maybe one trick play down the field, something like that. But no solid, just straight up number 2 receiver. Defensive wise, they're stacked. They just made that trade for I forgot his name. Towards the in the season for the trade deadline, they got him from the 49ers.
Quan
Alexander. Yeah.
Man, I'm glad I wish you would have went first. Now I kind of take that back because he's under 30 and he's a pass covering linebacker. So that's the Saints. That's why I used to be shocked when they would say like they have one of the best rosters in the league, but when you go over it, they do have.
Slowly.
I really kind of take that back. I go receiver.
Yeah. And again, it's crazy. Another team that we talking about, they need offensive help that made the playoffs. I guess defense really does win championships. But Quan Alexander, Demario Davis, he don't really seem like he's aging either. They're solid. And like you just said, I didn't want to agree with it and have to, actually watch the Saints and like, oh yeah, they got a solid defense, solid key players. Because obviously they're a division rival for me. But as like especially these past 2 years, I've just had to come to my senses, come to terms with them. Like, yeah, they're stout, they're pretty dominant. Even though I hate how their corners hold and grab and be talking so much, but they're a solid group, they're a solid unit. I think another team just needs offensive help. I think James should get the nod, but receiver would do them justice, would do them well. Green Bay, and then I know we'll slightly hit on the Bucs because
this was quick to me, to be honest. Aaron Rodgers makes it work, but I think they need O-line. I mean, Jesus, not O-line, receiver. another dog.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just go back and think. I might be wrong, like thinking of the draft order because I think the Packers went to the NFC Championship. So you're right. Never mind. He wouldn't have been there. But imagine if they hit on somebody like Justin Jefferson this year.
No, they act. Well, hold on.
Yeah, they made it to the NFC Championship, so they were like 29 or 30.
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah, I was about to. Yeah, because I was about to say Philadelphia passed up on them. But
Philly
hold
did.
on.
Yeah, Philly
But
did.
I feel like Green Bay did too. I'm gonna have to look that up. I'm gonna let you keep talking, but
Yeah, but for me, it's receiver. You know, if they would have hit on a guy like that, I don't know what would have happened. It would have got ugly this year, especially with Tanyan. But Aaron Rodgers made it work. But I think that would have helped them out. Valdez Scantling, Lazard, they're nice, but they're inconsistent and they don't make some of the timely plays that are needed. So that's unfortunate. But
mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with that position. On the defensive side, King, you know, he had a bad game, but he had a good season. Savage and Amos are two good safeties. And their linebacking core is a little weak, but their D line is good. So I would say linebacker and receiver. But you got to help your aging quarterback, your Hall of Fame quarterback. You want him to get a ring. You've had two Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and they've combined for 2 rings. So I think that's in part with, you know, the guys not getting it done sometimes. The franchise and the management not surrounding these guys with the proper people. So I would say go with the receiver. And it's hard because you're going to be picking number 30 this year. But like I said, second round, there have been some good second and third round receivers in the last couple of years. So, you know, do your scouting. Your scouting department has to do their job, and you guys got to find your guy for A-Rod.
Yeah. And you were right. He got picked, or Jordan Love got picked. What 4
20.
picks after Justin Jefferson? Yeah, 26. So
Yeah, man. I mean, you could have traded up. I'm pretty sure you could have put
yeah, I think
together.
there was talks about them trying to trade up because Justin Jefferson kept kind of falling a little bit. So, but yeah, actually, Brandon, I got picked 1 pick before Jordan Love. I wonder if I'm not trying, because you know, there's no excuse for Green
I think
Bay
he's a
picking
gadget.
Jordan Love. Yeah, but do you think him or I guess Jefferson, Jalen Rager, one of those could have been their guys, and they just felt like the ones that went in the second round wasn't, you know, or people that I guess they could have held off on. But I think there was still. I'm looking at names. Yeah, there's still some solid guys they could have took, even if they were a year away. So yeah, the piggyback off of you, receiver. You know, it's crazy to see what Devontae Adams and him have been able to do with just each other. Obviously, Lazard and Scantling and them, they're not, you know, slouches, but I think they can definitely, you know, use another pass catching type receiver. Because I know Lazard's he's you know good in passing game, but he's more so. I guess they always praise him about his blocking.
Yeah,
Scantling's supposed to be like a deep threat, but I mean, it's iffy there. And then like I said, just getting him another offensive weapon. They got the defensive guys. Not defensive guys. They got the running backs. They could use a little bit of help on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe another secondary guy. No, the way King played, they may need to replace him sooner than later. I'm just playing, but other than that, yeah, I think just getting him a receiver and they should be okay. Defense can continue to grow and you know, play the game and flourish. The Smith brothers on the defensive line are still a problem to handle. So like I said, maybe secondary help, maybe another linebacker as well, and they should be all right. They've obviously gotten to the NFC Championship 2 years in a row, so they can't be missing too much. And lastly, like I said, not much to probably talk about, but the now the defending Super Bowl champs, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Not too much. I would say I would have to wait until, like, you know,
Free agency and everything
happens. But for me, the keys to success in running it back would be resign these guys and maybe I don't even know what piece to add. It depends if you resign everybody because let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah.
They have a bunch of free agents, but they have some key guys they have to sign. Like Chris Godwin is young, so he's looking for his first contract. I think he was a second round guy, so somebody might be willing to pay him 16 to 17 million. You got Levante David, he's been there forever. He stuck it out. He's 32, so this is his last big contract. Not 32, I might have the age wrong, but he's in his 30s. And lastly, Shaq Barrett. He was a not late round pick, but not a first round pick. He sat behind Von Miller. Didn't get his shine. He left because they signed Bradley Chubb and balled out. So he's looking for his first big payday. So it's going to be tough to keep those guys. So the main thing for me to run it back is to sign your key guys. So like I said, I have to wait to see until after free agency. So, but the main thing I would say is just running back.
Yeah, honestly, that may just be the only thing that they need help with is attaining their players. Chris Godwin's up due for a contract. I know Mike Evans and the other guys want to keep him around, but like I said, they got to allocate money to that defense that we seen and showed that they got some ballers on that side. So like you just said, honestly, I don't know if there's anything that they like need. It's just they have to attain those same players, those players that proved big time for them throughout the course of the playoffs, the season, and in the Super Bowl in order to probably run it back. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't think there's any other real true needs, to be honest. Yeah, so I guess that might do it for this segment. So yeah, that's pretty long, but of course I like to hit on all these teams. It's crazy, like I said, to see that most of these teams that we were talking about all need offensive help, and they all have pretty good defenses. So offense is the way to go. Quarterback, what we learned is quarterback is obviously the most important position, key position. Need help there. A lot of these teams need running back help, maybe another big playmaking wide receiver, and they could make that next step like the Bucs did to win the Super Bowl in 2022. So, and then not going to talk about all these teams, of course, but just maybe we're going to give a few teams that maybe overachieved or underachieved this year. And maybe next steps they possibly could take. So that, of course, I'll let you go first. I know you got 2 for each conference.
It's actually a little bit more than that. I'm not gonna.
Okay.
This might take forever if I did.
I'm
not gonna. Go over it. But I didn't. All right, my teams that succeeded, overachieved this year were the Dolphins, the Browns, the Bills, the Bucs, and the Steelers. And I know the Bucs might be a toss-up because without Jameis's turnovers last year or the year before last, they would have been a playoff team. So that's iffy. But the teams that underachieved for me were the Pats, the Eagles, the 49ers, and the Texans. Texans traded away their best player. The Pats lost their quarterback, had a lot of guys opt out. Philly just underachieved. They weren't really a good roster to start with. And the only team out of that I would give a break to was San Fran because they had a lot of guys get injured. A lot of key guys, like Bosa was lost for the season in like week 2, and then they had Sherman and some other key guys that were hurt like early on in the season, for like 4 or 5 weeks at a time. So that was key. But those are my overachievers and underachievers for the season. And what about you, Jelani? I know you probably have some interesting ones.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if they're too interesting. A lot of ours are the same. Obviously, I gotta go with my Falcons for underachieving. I know, maybe that's just me being a fan and being hard on the team. But honestly, like I said, there was a lot of talk, of course, with the Saints and Bucks. Obviously, everything they did in the offseason. The Saints just being, they have been pretty good past 3 or 4 years, and everybody the Bucks brought in, obviously Tom Brady and Gronk and those guys. But the Falcons still were primed to have a pretty decent year. Like they didn't lose too much. They supposedly upgraded with Dante Fowler, upgraded a little bit with Todd Gurley. Was expecting him to be a little bit more healthy, back to shape, a little bit back to shape and form. Not 100%, of course, what he was when won the Office Player of the Year and all that. But we had high hopes. Matt Ryan was cool. Calvin Ridley another year in the system, along with Julio just being healthy. Of course, we did have a lot of questions about the defensive side of the ball, which show again the difference between those playoff teams and our team defense. They all had solid and great defensive teams, and we did not. So we underachieved pretty heavily. I didn't think even if we didn't make the playoffs, I didn't think we was only going to win 4 games. So that's the only reason I'm saying they underachieved. But other than that, it was underachieved. Like you said, San Fran gets a pass just because of all the injuries. I think they would have been right there in the NFC West, battling it out if they didn't have everybody be injured. Eagles definitely underachieved. For some reason, that team always just has everybody hurt, and I don't know why. They can never get everybody healthy for some reason.
Maybe it's the trainers.
It's crazy.
I don't know.
Exactly. So they definitely underachieved, especially in the NFC East that literally was theirs for the taking, and they kind of just fumbled away the whole time. It's like they just kind of want to toss it up to everybody. And obviously the Washington football team came out with it. What was the other team that the Raiders? Honestly, like I don't know if it was underachieved. It's like they did both. Like they was overachieving at first, and then when we saw that they could actually play, they may be a well coached team and maybe primed for a playoff spot. They went right back to underachieving. They did the same thing they did this year, which was like lose like 6-7 of the last 8 games. So they did both. Honestly, it's kind of weird to say. And I would say the Pats as well. They did kind of underachieve. But I kind of not the same thing as San Francisco, but they did have a lot of opt-outs, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So I will give them that.
Pretty sure they had the most, right?
They did. Like literally everybody gone. And then Cam, really when Cam caught COVID, that's when everything went downhill for them. They was pretty much on a nice roll. The only game they had lost, I think, came down to like the last possession as well. So, but pretty much after he got COVID, it pretty much was downhill for that team. But I can see definitely how they underachieved. But I gave them the benefit of the doubt just because of those 2 reasons. That might just be everybody else given what happened. That they kind of finished where they were supposed to. I would say Dallas, but Dak getting hurt down. Yeah, I was like, but their defense was ass in the first place, so I can't really say though. I don't think they would have got too far. But I think, like I said, in the NFC East where everybody was just they could have possibly put it out if they had a healthy Dak. But yeah, overachieved. Pretty much all the teams you named, for sure. Miami. I was hoping they got to the playoffs, but they could never figure out the Tua Fitzpatrick thing, and unfortunately they lost the last game to where they couldn't get to the playoffs. What else did you say? My fault. I lost train of thought. Obviously the Bucs kind of did. I did think they were going to get to.
Houston was my last underachiever.
Yeah.
They traded away their best player. They just were up 24-0 in the divisional round against the Chiefs, and then they went 4-12. So
yeah,
big disappointment. A lot of busted moves by their management and Bill O'Brien, but they're about to pay for it. But I think they'll get a haul back. That's why they should think about this. The Deshaun Watson thing. Let my boy go and get the picks back that they wasted.
Yeah. I think and the Bills definitely did as well.
They balled out.
It kind of was the division kind of up for everybody, and we knew from last year that they played really well. So we kind of expected them to at least be at the top of the division, but all in all, they played some really dominant games and showed that they belonged in the AFC for sure. So I think that's another overachiever as well. Other than that, I think everybody kind of did what they were supposed to do. Indianapolis, they're not really an overachiever, but just I got shout out to them because I kept saying Philip Rivers going to take them as far as, or they're going to go as far as Philip Rivers take them. He got them to the playoffs, but unfortunately, that last throw of the game to try to get it to the end zone left them short. So, but they did have a nice little season as well. But moving on, we're gonna we do a little segment, something or nothing. It's gonna be trades, released, guys just going to different teams, edition. This happened around Super Bowl, so we didn't really get to talk about it too much. We wanted to hit on the Super Bowl, of course, and not take shine away from there. But Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff trade, a few other pieces and picks and stuff were involved. But something or nothing, do you think? I guess something or nothing question for the Rams. Do you think this puts them over the top? Kind of puts them in the Super Bowl talks in the NFC. Do you think this is what they needed in order to, I guess, make that extra push?
The quarterback position is very vital to win a championship in the league. And Sean McVay, with his mind, he obviously thought that this was a match made in heaven, which might be. From what I know, I think he runs the West Coast system. And Matthew Stafford can throw it all around the yard, man. A lot of quarterbacks have had MVP-type seasons in this offense. And I've always said the Lions wasted his career. I know they gave him Megatron, but they never gave him a good defense. And he was never – I don't think he ever had the best offensive coaches. It was just him and Megatron making plays. So for him to finally be surrounded by a nice, young, genius offensive mind, it's what he's looking for. And with the quarterbacks playing into their 40s now, this could be the back half of his career could. I know this is very bold and very crazy, but if he plays well enough, hopefully it could maybe give him a chance to be in the Hall of Fame one day if he gets a ring out of it, because his talent as a whole is top notch. I can't say there's 30 quarterbacks that played
Yeah.
the history of the league that were more talented than him. So I think this is something. This is a match made in heaven. Obviously, they didn't trust their guy Jared Goff enough.
Yeah. I think it was a good move on their end, especially if he's able to stay healthy. I think this year was like one of the first years I've seen him healthy in a while. Like typically he's missing a few games. Like something happens, he breaks something. He's a tough guy. He comes back in games, trying to fish it out, tough it out. But he's either breaking something or tearing something or something's happening. But he was pretty healthy this past year. But like you just said, he hasn't really been surrounded by the greatest offensive minds, even really the greatest offensive weapons outside of Megatron. This year, I know they had. Kenny Galladay was.
Galladay's up there as one of his best threats for sure.
Yeah, he was pretty much hurt a lot of the year. And Marvin Jones, is decent as well. And they had a nice tight end too. And DeAndre Swift didn't play too bad as well. But all in all, I think he gonna have a defense that's gonna back him as well too. As long as, like I said, with those offensive weapons that he has, it's not too much change. Like he has two solid receivers. Maybe if they can upgrade at tight end. They got Cam Akers, like you said, that started to emerge to end off the season. Defense is ridiculously scary. I think it definitely surpasses them, at least in the NFC West. Passing Seattle, depending on what they do in free agency and in the draft. But I think they definitely have surpassed them with this move. Super Bowl wise, I'm not too sure. Obviously, there's still a lot of great teams in the NFC that can compete with them. But I think it's a really, really good move on the Rams' part. For Detroit and Jared Goff, I don't know how that looks. What do you think about that?
Let's keep that one. Yeah, let's keep that one real short. They're rebuilding mode. They won the trade. They got a quarterback that maybe with a new change of scenery, a coach that believes in him. He plays well, he thrives, but they got 2 firsts out of it. So
exactly, yeah.
It's a win-win. Detroit, it's tough because they're losing. They're definitely rebuilding because they might lose Galladay. I think he's a free agent. Some other people. So
yeah, and Marvin Jones. If they can't bring back one of those, it might be.
Yeah, it's not the best situation. So let's just they just did it just to do it.
Of course.
And the Lions and Stafford wanted to part ways, and they won the trade. They got 2 firsts, so they're definitely rebuilding. If Goff's not the guy, they won't be mad at him. Like we can get our guy in the future. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's definitely obviously something for the Rams, maybe nothing for Detroit, but like you said, them 2 firsts is key. Something and nothing. Obviously, the news happened yesterday. J.J. Watt got released. He asked to be released and got his wish, and they released him. No trade, no nothing. So I guess the something or nothing part I wanted to ask you about is obviously Deshaun Watson's been in the news a bunch, and he's actually going to be talking about him next. But he's been in the news a bunch because he's requested a trade. He's once out, but Texas organization's pretty much saying we're not trading him. He's our quarterback. He's here for the future. When there's obviously suitors that would want him, and that's probably sending offers for him as well. So do you think it's something or nothing? I guess the way the Texans are handling this, and what do you think? What do you think about it? Obviously, I have certain opinions on why I think this is kind of BS, but what do you think? About this J.J. Watt being released and not even a trade attempt.
I'd say that it's not. I know we're going to disagree. I think Deshaun should be granted his wish because he's upset with the organization, but this situation with him and J.J. Watt is completely different. If this was J.J. Watt in his prime, 3-time defensive player of the year, they wouldn't be letting him go. He's 33 now, if I'm not mistaken. He's older in his career. He's had some injuries. He's definitely slowed down. Not the same guy he was.
Mm-hmm.
So it was easier for them to move on. Like I just said, they wouldn't have let him go if he was in his prime back then. So I think it's different. If Deshaun was older, he say he won MVP, no championships, but he won MVP 2 or 3 times, some first-team All-Pros, best player in Texas history, but he's 36, 37. He wants to part ways. I think they do it. But Deshaun's in the prime of his career. In my opinion, he's a top 5 quarterback, so That's why I think the Texans are not letting him go. And I don't think it's completely BS. I know what people are thinking, but it's a reason. Like if they were the same age and they let JJ go, but they didn't let Deshaun go, then we got a problem. But JJ's coming down, Deshaun's turning up, and I see what the Texans are thinking. They're trying to do everything they can to keep it together, Deshaun together. It's probably not going to work. He probably ends up sitting out, but I see the reason why they're doing it, and I don't think it's BS. What's your thought?
Yeah, of course. Like I get that. Of course, like obviously, if they trade, well, depending on the type of return they may get back, I don't know what trade suitors or who they would send them off to, but obviously that just puts them back even further than what Bill O'Brien done for them. Like obviously, each and every year has been something. Got rid of D-Hop last year. Obviously for a trade for David Johnson, like basically everything that they've been doing within the organization just has not been the greatest since they lost to Kansas City. In the was it divisional round? So I understand, of course, why they got to hold on, got to keep like you just said, top 5 quarterback, top 5 talent for sure in the league. Like if they get rid of him, like they really just lost. They're already lost in Clueless, but they get rid of him, they're even more lost in Clueless because how does the rebuild even start? Like they don't even have their first round pick this year. Who knows what they're looking like the next few years with draft capital. Like it just continues to push them back further and further, especially if they get rid of Deshaun. And I understand. I guess with me the problem just resides in like I guess like I just said the principle, like 2 players. I don't separate that type of thing. Obviously, JJ's been around. He's done everything, given everything to that organization that he's possibly could have. He's getting older. He's more so on the decline. But I guess I'm just looking at it from a player standpoint. One player asks one thing, and it's just like automatic. It's like they're bowing down and just saying like, you gotta have whatever you want. Like, yeah, it's cool. Like to I guess agree to part ways, but they didn't even try to get. Especially, and this is a team I feel like they need something. They need some type of draft capital. They need some type of returns, whether it's maybe a promising player, maybe just something like not second round, like a 5th, 6th round pick, just anything. Like they didn't try to, get anything in return. And there was some article, I didn't want to read it, but I know there's an article talking about why they didn't try to pursue a trade. I guess it's because they wanted to allow him to kind of choose where he wanted to go, and give him that service and give him that honor. But I guess for me, it's like I'm looking at player to player. Like both players asking the same thing. You grant one player the wish. I guess it's not. I guess it can't be like it's not a league to obviously with fairness. Money's involved, contracts involved, everything's involved. But both are under contract. Both are asking a specific thing, which is that they want out. I feel like you granting it for one guy, you in a way kind of showing favoritism. You kind of got to grant it for another guy, and it's not like you can't get great returns for Watson. Like it's not like you're just gonna get a scrub player, a 7th round pick, and a little bit of $500,000. Like you're going to get a hefty return. Like if you send him to the Jets, you're getting a quarterback in return as well. Maybe obviously Sam Darnold's not up to the standards and capabilities of Deshaun Watson, but you're probably getting this year's first, probably getting another first, or maybe 2 more first, a second. You're getting hefty returns. So I don't know. I guess I'm looking at it as, player to player. Like they're both asking for a release to new scenery, and one guy you want up it versus just releasing them. Just letting them go to a different team, like trading them, whatever. You literally release them, and that's money on your books. Like again, like it's just like what are they really doing? Like it's money on your books. You're letting the guy go. You really have no vision for the future. That's just kind of how I'm seeing it. But like I said, overall, I have understood, what people are saying, like, just, kind of giving that service to JJ Watt, letting him kind of decide where he wants to go. It's giving everything to the city and all that. But I guess I believe in fairness in a league that there's no fairness, which obviously, I have to realize. So
it's a business.
Exactly. It's a business. But, like I said, business wise, they still, I guess that what made me mad is like the fact that, they didn't try to really seek a trade out because they just, want to allow him to kind of go where he wants to go and sign. But now he's going to be
That's
the
what
number
they're,
one.
him putting in the work for the organization, staying, sticking around for all those tough times. This is a good gesture from them.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. I guess like if it's a business, it gotta be a business. In my opinion, like you can't be like, okay, yeah, good gesture, and then like on one hand for another player, like, oh, it's business. It's my business. Like you gotta be about your business about JJ Watt as well. You could have, like I said, it might not have been the greatest return because he's on the decline and he has a lot of money on the books, but you would have got something in return. And you're in rebuild mode. Like you can't just be affording to give up star players for nothing and have that money on your books for the next year or two. So that's just, like I said, kind of how I'm looking at it. But like I said, I see both sides for sure. But who knows? It's actually the next thing. Like Watson, I think the same time, as JJ was being released, there was a few rumblings that he has preferred destinations and trades. And I think he said the Broncos and the 49ers intrigue him. So I guess something or nothing. What do you think about that? Him actually thinking those two teams or kind of picking those two teams, like saying like he wouldn't mind going there.
Both good spots. One for the 49ers because of Shanahan, the West Coast system. Fits quarterbacks. And like I said, the MVP type seasons have came from this system. But let me finish. Going to the Broncos, a lot of young weapons. They got Judy, Sutton. They got Hamler, 2 running backs. Shaky offensive line, but they're okay. They got Chubb. They got a couple of pieces on defense. But my question is, you want to go to these teams because they have these pieces, but I'm pretty sure the Texans are going to take draft capital and a young piece from one of these teams. So go to the Broncos. I mean, 49ers, I don't know what they really take. I know they're not getting Bosa, but they might try to take Armstead or maybe Warner. I don't think they get. I don't know because those are dogs. But like you go to the Broncos, do you take Sutton or do you take Judy or do you take Noah Fant? It's kind of tough, but it's something. I think he's looking at he's ready to get out of Houston. He's not even looking forward to the stuff, whatever they have going on. Trying to look at the new teams and the teams that would fit him. And I like these two destinations. He would turn these two teams. The 49ers, we've already talked about this, I think, but they'd be an instant contender, and the Broncos would become winners. And that would definitely become maybe one of the best quarterback divisions in history when it's all said and done with Herbert, Mahomes, and Watson. But it's something. It's something. He's definitely trying to get out there, even if the Texans don't want to trade him. But he has his sights on other teams in the future with other organizations.
Yeah, so. That's what I was about to say. I'm gonna go something because obviously, like I'm gonna go something to the part that obviously he's saying is okay. You would go to these teams, but I'm also gonna say nothing at the same time because I feel like he just went, like you just said, he went out, period. So I know there's obviously teams that he would prefer to go to, but maybe in a sense he's gonna be happy wherever you go. Like even the Jets, like because it was 2 weeks ago he was talking about them. So just in general, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's gonna be nothing because I know he wants out just in general, but to me it's something that those two teams intrigue him. Like you said, the Broncos do have like some young promising talent, especially at the receiver. In the receiving core with Hamler, Judy, and Sutton. In the backfield, they got Melvin and forgot everybody's name, but Lindsey. My fault. Yeah, so they got some offensive weapons on that side of the ball, and their defense isn't that bad. Obviously, they'll get Von Miller back. He's a year older, but he should be healthy coming in. They got Chubb, got a bunch of guys on that side of the ball. They did just, which we're about to talk about as well. They did just release your boy AJ, but
he's old.
Yeah, I was about to say I think they can replace him in the draft. But 49ers, I think that'd be an instant hit. That would be crazy to see him there. I think as well. Got a strong defense to back him, just like I said with Matt Stafford. Has some pretty capable offensive weapons as well. They're running back. They just churn out running backs. They maybe add another receiver to that core, and I think they should be a solid team with Watson at the head. But something because those two teams intrigued him in general, but nothing because I think he just goes out and he just wants to. He'll be happy honestly wherever he's at as long as it's not Houston. Yeah, exactly. And then told you I added it before we got on, but had to throw it in here. News that happened late last night, but your guy Urban Meyer, or used to be my guy, but you're a new head guy with the Jaguars. Urban Meyer not sitting well with a few guys because of him helping to appoint Chris Doyle. And we kind of know his history and everything, what was going on with him in his career and in his life. Basically appointing him, in the Jaguars organization, but he just resigned last night. So something or nothing. Is this this isn't the greatest look on Urban Meyer, but what does this do for him in, I guess, his first season as a Jaguars head coach? And why do you think he even thought to even make this move to begin with?
I don't know if it's something or nothing. If he didn't resign, it would have became something. But it's not the best. It's not the best look. From what I read, I remember when he got fired. It was in the spring, I think, around the spring, early summer. But from what I read, he bullied players. He was racist and he bullied players. So that's just not the best look. For one, you're not bullying grown men. It's a little different with the college guys. They're in scholarship, like you're paying for their education, so they kind of have to listen to you. The guys in the league, they have to listen to you, but they won't take a second to go off on you. So none of that's gonna fly. But it's I'm glad it happened. I'm glad he resigned. It wasn't a good look for the team. I don't know how the players are going to respond to it. It wasn't even really 24 hours or 48 hours. So it was definitely going to be something, but it's nothing. It's they're going to brush it under the rug. But if it went on, it was definitely going to be questioned because I don't like to make subjects about race, but what black coach would get fired for being racist? What black coach have you heard about being racist? But what black coach would you know that was being racist and did stuff like that, bully players?
It was even considered to be rehired somewhere else.
And would he even be considered anywhere? Like a guy that abused players verbally? I don't know
how. Career would probably be over with.
Yeah, career would be over. You wouldn't. Maybe he get a job at the HBCU, but the NFL, no. It's not really fair. But I'm glad they didn't let it get to this point. So it's nothing.
Yeah. I think definitely it'll be nothing, within the next week and a half, though. Because it kind of fall by the wayside. So whatever other news, probably NFL like free agency and stuff is gonna, be more prominent coming to the folds. But for these last 2 days, at least, it definitely was something. Just for the points that we just said, like for him to even be considered, in a way, a promotion to because he's making that move to the big leagues in the NFL. But like I said, just obviously not the greatest look on Urban Meyer. And it's not even the first season yet. Like they're just about to start. Doing I guess all the things they need to do in the front office to make this Jaguars team a contender. But to hire a guy that like I said, we know his past, we know his history, we know what he's done, and not even that long ago, and to be reconsidered and hired, and appointed into the position he was. And then kind of only resigned because of the pressures and the media attention it was about to get. Probably like there was no media attention on it, he probably would still be hired in the position he is now. But obviously, like you said, he didn't want to, I guess, take away the attention and everything that they're trying to do and build in in Jacksonville. But all in all,
at the end of the day,
yeah, all in all, I just think it's kind of tasteless and looks bad on Urban Meyer. And I know a few guys in the Off the Ball group was actually talking about Urban Meyer, like just this track at Florida, like all the guys that was on that team, like it's just I don't know what they specifically call. I know they have a name for it, but kind of like the Killer Squad, like obviously Hernandez.
The Bouncy
Brothers were on there.
My brother told me about that down in Lake.
Yep, Bouncy Brothers. I think Janoris Jenkins was part of that group as well. It was a lot of guys on that team that either ended up in jail or are still in jail. Just has some type of bad past history. But I think somebody said, I think Cruz said it, but he was saying like he's really not in the business, or was never in the business, I guess, in building leaders and shaping young men's lives, kind of to put them on the right track and just have an influence on them. It's kind of like he brought in guys that was gonna like honestly, I guess, just win them championships and get them to a place of prominence versus kind of like being that head of household leader. Because not to make, you just said not to make a race thing, but a lot of these guys that there's not a lot of these guys, but there are some guys that kind of like that do get these opportunities that come from areas that aren't the greatest, and like this is their way out in a sense. But
Most
You
definitely.
know, we know kind of like, you know, it's not always easy to separate, you know, where you come from, where you live, what things you may be involved in, have gone through, to when you get to that next level. In certain cases, it heightens up. Like you're kind of on your own, you're by yourself, you're in a new totally area, in a new totally different area. And you're seeing a bunch of stuff that you probably ain't never seen before. So you know, I can kind of see what they're saying that and attest to that. Like maybe he's not the greatest leader of men or building of men. Like he doesn't. But I guess the NFL is different. Like that type of stuff is not gonna fly in general. But on the college level, like you sometimes do need to have some coaches that are able to build young men and have an effect on their life and steer them in the right direction. Um, but like I said, NFL college ball is a little bit different, so maybe that won't be too much of a problem on the next level for him. But again, this was something in the short time that it was something. Um, and then of course Carson Wentz. So we're gonna hit on a few guys. The last few, just a little quick something, nothing, but just hit on guys that we're expected to, are being released, have already been kind of told that they're on the trading block, or are looking for new homes. So I know we kind of talked about Carson Wentz already. We already think he's already going to the Colts. But I guess something or nothing. I guess if he goes to Chicago, because we haven't talked about that honestly.
It's something just regarding him getting traded. He wants out. He hasn't spoken about it, which means he wants out. He's being quiet, which is kind of his silence. He's not really being silent. The organization's got the memo that he wants out, and they said he should be. Last week, they said he should be traded in this. He should have been traded by this week.
This week, yeah.
It's definitely something. He's out of there. It's either Chicago or Indy, and if he went anywhere else, it would surprise me. So it's something, and Carson Wentz won't be an Eagle anymore.
Yeah.
And, I'm rooting for him. I'm a believer in him, so I think a fresh start will do him well.
Yeah. I think he is. I think he is a solid quarterback, and I think as long as he stays healthy and you surround him with talent that is healthy too, because like I said earlier, that Eagles squad for some reason they just never healthy. I think he will flourish for sure, and just a change of scenery, a new head coach. I already said Wright has done great things with them, so I think we all ultimately think he's going to the Colts, but Chicago could be a destination as well. But yeah, definitely something just in general that he's being traded in. I hope for the best for wherever he goes, but I think wherever he does go, he will produce and he will shine, honestly. So I think it's just an upgrade in general for him. I should think he should be happy, to be honest. And I'm sure he is. Patrick Peterson, they longtime Cardinals, they released him as well. I guess it's not really much of a something and nothing, but I guess the something nothing is kind of like, where do you think he goes? What teams do you think fit him best?
I haven't really looked too much into this. He's an old corner, not what he once was. So I don't know what he really. I know I don't watch the Cardinals as much as I used to, so I don't know what he really has in the tank. But I would have to. It would be tough. I would have to look into this. I'm trying to think of teams that are really, really cornerback needy. Like the Jaguars, we wouldn't mind having a free agent acquisition. We got CJ and Trey Herndon in the slot, and we'll get in the draft talk. But I think we might take Jace Horn in the first round if he falls to us. But I'm going to pass on this one. I don't really know. I would say that for me, the main team, maybe the Titans to add some help. Like I said, Adoree, Christian Fulton haven't played the best. And the Vikings, ever since Xavier Rhodes had that breakout season, when they let him go, they're struggling with those two young guys and Mike Hughes and what's his last name? I can't say it, but he's from Mississippi State. Cam Dantzler or something like that. I can't say it. But for, just off the top, I would go with those two teams, the Vikings and the Titans, because I know those are two cornerback needy teams, especially with young corners that have struggled of late. What about you? But it's really nothing. I don't think he'll make a big impact on whatever team he goes to, but I'm interested to see what he has left in the tank because I don't know what he has in the tank. So,
yeah. I don't know. There's a few destinations I've seen people talking about. I personally, I'd say I maybe Seattle, because obviously you want to go to a contender or a team that's has some type of solid foundation and base. I think he wants to go to a winning organization. So I don't know. It'd be cool to see him in Seattle. The two teams that you said, it would be interesting as well. Maybe Minnesota. What other teams that we already said the Titans. I'm about to say, what other teams are real quarterback needy? cornerback needy. I think some people say you might make a move to a safety as well. I don't even know.
If you get slower, that's the best. I think that's the best bet in a way, kinda playing the box. Good.
Yeah, so I honestly think for some reason Seattle is screaming to me. I know it's in division, but they are a solid team, solid foundation. They can definitely use another corner. We already talked about that. So I don't know. For some reason, Seattle is popping out in my head, my mind. It might not even be anything of talk or news. Like they may not even be looking at him, but I feel like he should go there, in my opinion. But there's a lot of teams that could use a veteran presence like him, whether it's at corner or safety. So I think you'll have some suitors early for him. And then, like I just said, your guy AJ Bouye once was a Jaguar, no longer a Jaguar or Bronco. So, who do you think? Okay, I guess use his needs. Obviously, another team that's a cornerback needy. But what do you even think of him as a player? Because I know you got to see him a little bit up close, and I know you say he's getting a little old. But do you think he'll have an impact wherever he goes?
As of right now, he was towards the end. Like when we traded him, I wasn't upset. I was more upset about Calais and letting it go. But he was on the way down. He was declining. I wasn't surprised he got released by the Broncos. He was hurt a little bit. So, I'm wishing the best for him. He played well in his couple of years for us, but I don't think he has too much left in the tank. So I don't think he will contribute to whatever organization he goes to. And he's just older. But, like I said, I wish the best. I don't wish failure on anybody, but he's declining and it's not looking too great. But because Denver doesn't have lockdown corners, so if they release you, that means they didn't think you could really benefit them. But I'm hoping for the best. I don't think he'll contribute though. That's my final answer.
Yeah. Just a cornerback needy team for me. Like I said, probably just one of the teams that we've named already, but maybe even Atlanta. We'll take some help. I know we're looking for another corner as well. I don't know how much he can bring to the table, but I do know we need another corner opposite of AJ Terrell. We still have that spot open, so who knows? Maybe on a nice little cheap contract because I don't think we're bringing back Denard or anybody, so who knows? All right, something to nothing. Tom Brady was drunk. A lot of people made this a big deal. What do you think?
I mean, I don't kind of. What do you mean? Like, well, all right. Let me just go what I think it means. It's nothing. People may be making a big deal because he got drunk, but this man, he won his 7th Super Bowl. GOAT, first team to win it in the home stadium. Check. Belichick. Other people doubted him. Check. Prove all the doubters wrong. It's time to celebrate. Let back. Like this parade was the moment of reflection. I'm the shit. Reflection on the championship, but I did everything everybody said I couldn't do. So he kicked back, relaxed. He even had the kids around. Kids saw Pops drunk for the first time in a minute. So it's nothing, man. It's just showing that Tom Brady's human. I'm pretty sure he's got drunk many other times, but people just haven't seen that side of him. And he just he kicked back. He won a ring. That's when everybody kicks back. During the season, that's when everybody's serious the whole time. It's time to focus on one goal to ring, but he accomplished the goal. What is there to, people like Tom Brady, they take 2 or 3 weeks off after the season to just relax, celebrate, and, these are one of the days. So it's nothing. He's a regular person.
Yeah, same here. He actually looked like, he had fun in this celebration. It wasn't the Belichick New England way of celebrating. And I think it's nothing as well. I know a few people, I guess, kind of compare, like, just the way I guess he's supposed to carry himself, the way he used to carry himself, in New England, like, how you're supposed to, I guess have fun, but, still be, presentable, I guess, in public eye, whatever the case may be. Him throwing the trophy and all that, but I think it was cool to see. It may have made me like him a little bit, just to see him, just, like I said, in a normal light. He looked like he was having fun. Everybody was around celebrating, throwing the trophy. Looked like he had to get escorted out. Said it was nothing. Whatever, he had to drink and maybe it was a little strong, but he like you just say, he let loose. He's won 7 champion. Like who can say that? Went to his 10th Super Bowl, won his 7th ring. Did it with his guys, proved a lot of the doubters wrong. A lot of people still saying he's gonna, fall off a cliff soon, but he still looks good as ever. So I think it was nothing. I think it was cool to see him celebrate. Like I said, it may have made me like him a little bit more, honestly. So it's cool to see him have fun and let loose for sure. This is not really a something or nothing, but just in general, it was crazy. I don't know if you saw or read the
I
story, but
did. He's genius, man. Genius.
that's what I was thinking. I was like, what the hell? Why would I never thought about it. But basically, yeah, I know Tom Brady's covering it, but of course, some guy took a picture with him. They said that he bet that there was going to be a streaker. One of his friends kind of like um was what the decoy for security guards, and then he ran out onto the field or whatever the case may be. He obviously took the bet that there was going to be a streaker. Um, only was $1,000 bail. I was like, what? And then he won 375K, something like that. I don't even remember.
Yeah, that's
But
what it was.
yeah, I was like, that's great. That's genius though. Like overall, what did you think about it?
Genius, like you said. You would think the bail would be a little more for him doing that
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
during the pandemic too. If he, I
Mhm.
mean, he had mask on, not over his nose, but yeah, I guess. But this man's genius. He thought it all the way through. I just thought like there would be. I don't bet like that. Like I do small bets, but I would just think if you bet and won that amount of money, if you did something illegal like that, like you placed the bet on somebody streaking and you were the person to streak, that they could forego the bet. But obviously
Yeah.
that's not the case. But hey, he's a genius and he's walking away with money. Like I don't. No, let me stop. Let me stop. I was about to say maybe like if I now that I know like I would do something like that, but I'm good.
I was about to say, I think I was just about
Three
to say, I would think I would do it. I swear to God, I think I would. But obviously
three
now,
seventy for that.
yeah, that's crazy. But obviously now, I think they're gonna put some, like you just said, honestly, put some type of guideline restriction on it. Like, all right, if they see that you placed a bet or whatever, find out that you placed a bet. Like, if they can do that, I'm pretty sure they can. But if they found out that you placed the bet and you're the one that did it, they can forego the bet. I'm sure like something like that's probably in the works or will happen next year. If this was to come up. But overall, just genius. Came up $374 richer. That's crazy. But one last thing we're gonna hit on. We could probably make it real quick, but just say yay or nay, kind of like if we think these guys should have won their NFL awards. Of course, we got Aaron Rodgers MVP,
Yep.
almost 400, 4,300 yards, 48 TDs, 5 interceptions. I think the
Real quick.
third highest QB rate was 84.4 in history. Obviously, it was first in the league this year, but I guess yay or nay, you think he deserved or should have won the MVP, or is there anybody else that should have challenged him?
This one I'm gonna add on just a little bit, but I say
Mm-hmm.
yes. Before the season they drafted a quarterback. There were people doubting him, and then in the organization, like on shows Get Up, First Take, they were saying that Aaron Rodgers would be traded within the next 2 years. So
Mm-hmm.
that all added fuel to the fire and added to the story. So he definitely deserved MVP 100%. They drafted a quarterback to replace you in the first round. Like, what more? You know?
Yeah, and then you come out and just ball out.
Yep.
I don't even know what the ratio is, but it's definitely not a 4-1. It's better than a 4-1 ratio.
Uh,
TDs to interceptions.
yeah.
And like you said, bringing your replacement, but you ball out and basically make them reconsider everything. I guess they had in the plans or had in the work. So definitely deserved it. I don't think I knew he was going to get it. I don't know if there was anyone. I know some people were talking about Josh Allen,
Mm-hmm.
maybe Pat Mahomes for a little bit, but nah, he definitely deserved this one. Um, Next we got Offensive Player of the Year, Derrick Henry, 2,027 yards, 17 TDs, 378 attempts, and 5.4 yards on the ground average. Yay or nay, he deserves it.
Yeah, kind of hard to go against that. I know Stephon Diggs had a crazy season with like over 100 catches and 1,600 yards, but 2,000 yards as a rusher, that's not done too often, so you got to go with that.
Exactly. Yeah, not much to add. Exactly what I was thinking. Um, Derrick Henry definitely deserved this one. Aaron Donald, Defensive Player of the Year. I know this one was kind of a little bit of a controversy, but overall, I think most people would agree with this one. But 13 and a half sacks, 27 solos, 45 total, and 4 forced fumbles. Yay or
Yeah,
nay, he deserves it.
for this one, I'm going to add a little bit again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go yay. I know there was controversy with TJ Watt, but it's a little different when you're doing it from the interior, from the outside. He's getting double team and triple team every single play. TJ Watt has a little better numbers in some categories, most categories, but if you play football, you know it's harder to do that from the interior position than it is from the outside. Like Aaron Donald's playing nose or three tech, so it's harder to do. So I'm gonna go with yay.
Yeah. I'm gonna go yeah as well. I see a little bit of argument against TJ. We did have a stellar year, but like you just said, it's definitely different putting up these type of numbers. almost 14 sacks from the interior. That's crazy. And like you said, seeing triple team, being triple team at times, like that's obviously no slots. Like how many guys in the league are getting triple team? He's probably one of maybe two, if, but more than likely the only guy. So I definitely can see, yay, and see why he won his second, or was he became the third player to win it 3 times. So solid. And I know this was another controversial one. Offensive Player of the Year, Justin Herbert, 4,336 yards, 31 TDs, 10 interceptions. QB rating, I believe, is covered, but I think it was 69.5. So, yeah or nay, he deserves it.
This is controversial, but I think you know what my answer is going to be. I'm going with yay. Justin Jefferson had a crazy year. Don't know how many catches he had, but he had 1,400 yards. He broke Randy Moss's record, but quarterback is the most vital position. Herbert, his first ever start was against Mahomes, and he figured out he was starting 5 minutes before, and he balled out, and he just turned that into he did the same thing every week. There were weeks where Keenan Allen and Mike Williams were hurt, and he did the same things with other guys. So he's making the players around him better, and that's all you can ask for. And his future is very bright. I can see him turning into a top 10 quarterback as soon as next year, and top 5. We'll see how that goes because it's a lot of talented guys out there. But he definitely earned it, and he's playing quarterback, so he balled out. He's a guy to watch in the future, most definitely.
Yeah, like you said, typically the quarterbacks do get the nod in these type of situations. He did have, he did come onto the scene and had some really strong games and really great performances. Some in losses, some in wins. I can see the argument for Jefferson for sure. Like I said, breaking Randy Moss's record, he had a breakout year as well. He had a lot of clutch catches, clutch moments. But typically, like you just said, quarterbacks get the nod in this one. Justin Jefferson, I mean, he made Pro Bowl, even though they didn't play, but made Pro Bowl in his first season as a rookie. So I mean, maybe that's a little bit of a consolation prize. I know he won that Offensive Rookie of the Year, monument as well. But I think maybe it's just fuel to the fire for him. He'll come back ready next year and even put on even a better performance than what he did this year in his rookie campaign. So. Defensive Player of the Year. I think this one was kind of unanimous. I don't think anybody has a name for this one.
Yeah, yay. Before we even finish, yay.
Yeah. I don't think we gotta spend too much time on this one. I'll just read out his stats: 7.5 sacks, 32 solos, 42 total. I think he had four forced fumbles as well. So yeah,
and a touchdown for sure.
Oh yeah, I forgot. And a fumble recovery for a touchdown. So it's getting covered a little bit again, but I think comeback player of the year, Alex Smith. Obviously, when breaking the leg, had a lot of tissue taken out, broke his fibula and tibia, 17 surgeries. Almost had his leg amputated, led Washington football team to the playoffs and a 5-1 record when he was the starter. So, yay or nay, he deserves it. I think this was unanimous as well. Nothing to really talk about this one, So
some people would have just gave up on the career. They would have had the surgeries and I'm gonna just get healthy and play with my kids. But this guy was like, I'm gonna get healthy and go out there and try to play again.
Yeah,
this is probably the last time he takes an NFL snap. Start as a starter for sure, but kudos to him. The courage he had to do this is crazy. So shout out Alex Smith.
Exactly, just shows the love of the game and I guess the heart of him as just an individual and as a player. I said probably definitely not starter. We did see mobility issues. Obviously, he's not going to be the same type of player he used to be able to get out and extend, but more likely not going to be able to do that anymore. So like you said, more likely back up, maybe veteran leadership role somewhere in the league. And coach of the year, Kevin Stefanski, my fault, led the Browns obviously to 11-5 record in their first playoff appearance since 2002.
For me, yay. The only other person, I don't know who yours would be, but I would go Sean McDermott. Buffalo went to the playoffs the year before, but they just looked more dominant this year. Crazy turnaround. But, Kevin Stefanski, Browns, first time going to the playoffs since when again? Early 2000s. But, he had some questions coming in. He had completely established the culture. He's a young guy. A lot of guys question him, but he has total command of this franchise for the most part. he knows how to run the scheme, how to utilize his players, obviously on the offensive side of the ball, and he's a young mind. So I think they got that. The Browns got their guy, and he definitely deserved this. Nice turnaround and nice playoff win. And even though they lost to the Chiefs, like I said before, they were very competitive. So kudos to the Browns and Kevin Stefanski for a nice season.
Yeah. I think I would go with them as well, just because we both did say the Browns kind of overachieved a little bit, or at least I did say the Browns kind of overachieved a little bit. And for them to get to the playoffs and win a playoff game against a division rival, and convincingly against the Steelers, and be in the game with the Kansas City Chiefs as well. You know, I know he didn't coach the first one, the first playoff game, but regardless, or wasn't there at least on the sideline, but regardless, you know, he gave them the blueprint and led this team, like I said, to 11-5 record, and that's no small feat at all, especially in a division so heavily stouted as theirs. Other than that, like I said, Sean McDermott definitely could have been a candidate. It was a Washington football fan. Shout out to you, Cruz. But I think he said, you know, just everything I guess that Ron Rivera had to go through. Obviously, beating cancer, fighting cancer, beating cancer, going through so many quarterback changes, including one of Alex Smith, and still being able to get the football team to the playoffs. So obviously, they don't really give consolation prize. They're not thinking about all the outside, effects that may have gone into the game. So I can see it for sure. I don't know if he did win some other type of smaller award, but shout out to Ron Rivera for sure, and congrats on beating cancer as a whole. So, all right, that I don't know if we'll ever go 2 hours again, but of course it's the NFL. It's the NFL, wrap up season. So definitely had a lot to talk about, a lot to get to. So last thing that we're gonna hit on. Obviously, I put like a little collage together. You can't see all of them, but just some of the crazy moments of the year, some of the good things that happened, the bad things that happened, the funny things that happened throughout the entire year. So I know we'll just hit on and talk about our favorite moments. Obviously, he denied pooping, but Lamar's poop game where he went to the locker room, came back out, threw a TD, led his team to a very, very clutch victory that they definitely needed in order to insert themselves back in the playoff race, or I think submit themselves into the playoffs. Derrick Henry throwing Josh Norman, Kendall Hinton being the first quarterback to post a 0.0 QBR rating, CeeDee Lamb snatching his phone back, Tom Brady being confused, whether it was fourth down, Sarah Thomas being the first female ref to ref a Super Bowl, Ron Rivera beating cancer, like I just said. And the picture that's covered by Tom Brady is the one thing that some of us probably forget now. It is the end of the season that, the initiative coming into the season was to push the Black Lives Matter movement and, equality and justice for all. So just the decals and everything on the back of everybody's helmet, some of the good and great moments of this NFL season. But like I said, that I'll let you hit on your favorite moment or favorite player or favorite game throughout the entire season.
Since it's the last episode, I'm gonna pick two. My first moment was the Hail Mary. Crazy. I know this feeling as a quarterback. You sometimes you had that guy that you just trust over anybody, and Kyler was just like, game on the line, D-Hop down. What did he post? I think he was like D-Hop down there. F it.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite moment. Him mossing three guys with the game on the line. That's something maybe only D-Hop would do. And for me, it was before the season started, but I'm going to go with shout out to Ron. Let me get to the serious stuff first. Shout out to Ron Rivera beating cancer, the female being one of the first female referees. And, shout out to the NFL for honoring social injustice and some of the ways they did a little bit. I feel like they could have did better, but they did a little something. But my second favorite moment is the CeeDee Lamb moment with his girl trying to snatch the phone on draft day. Basically being in his business, trying to answer the Cowboys phone call, and she's already feeling like she's entitled to his, major business. And he had to let her know early on draft day. Sad the cameras had to be around, but that was a funny moment. And I know there's many other young athletes that would do the same with their girl. I don't even know how long if she's still around, but her grabbing the phone to him, putting her in check early is what everybody needed to see on draft day.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny. I think it may have been at the NFL where I think Steve Harvey pointed out and said something about that too. He said that was the most clutch catch of the year. But Yeah, that definitely was a funny moment. The other funny moment too, I didn't put it in the picture, but I forgot what. I think it was Isaiah that got taken, but I remember, his girlfriend was hugging him and his mom had to snatch her off. That was the other funny moment. There was a few other funny moments in the draft, but those two were the top ones for me. But yeah, my favorite ones, of course, the Diop catch, crazy. And just like the branding around it as well. One guy had Adidas gloves on, one guy had I forgot what, somebody else had a different pair of gloves on. I think somebody else had Nike ones on, and then Diop had the Jordan ones. So they were saying that's just a perfect little brand commercial or billboard or whatever the case may be. And then the other one, it's not funny. I know we gave our kudos to him when he did go out there and play because it was such short notice. And I'm just realizing this was the other game that they didn't push it back, even though there was a lot of COVID cases going around. Drew Lock being one of the guys, or the whole quarterback room for the Broncos being out. But kudos, to Kendall going out there and just trying to give it his all. First quarterback to post a 0 QBR rating, but on literally like 2 days before the game, being notified, you're going to be the starting quarterback and going out there and doing what you can to put your team in position to win. Can't really ask more of them. So those are probably my two favorite moments. Just crazy moment in general for the Broncos. But definitely had to put this Derrick Henry photo up because it was crazy to see it live, but every picture that you see of it with Norman just like lateral in the air like that's ridiculous. Like
it's a grown man that works out to
exactly.
stop him, and he just tossed him around
like nothing, like literally threw him to the side like a paper towel, like crazy. But yeah, man, like I said, don't know when we'll ever do another 2-hour episode, but it was the NFL season wrap up. Definitely had to hit on everything that happened in this crazy unorthodox year. A lot of good, a lot of bad, a lot of funny, a lot of just craziness in general. But glad we both can share in it, talk about it, and like I said in the beginning of the show, that we was even able to see a conclusion to this NFL season. So again, appreciate you, Thad, for hopping on. Any last words before we head off today?
No, not really. Long NFL season. Glad we got through it. Shout out to Roger Goodell again. Like I said in previous episodes, looking forward to the offseason, the NFL draft to see who my Jaguars pick up in free agency. I don't know if y'all didn't see QB1's pro day, but y'all need to go check it out. Flawless. He dropped some downs. And looking forward to him leading the franchise. So, next time you talk to us, we'll be closer to the draft. I don't know when we're going to talk about the NFL again, but looking forward to it. A very exciting offseason is coming up because we do not know who's going to be drafted. So just looking forward to it. Already looking forward to the next season.
Yeah, like I said, it definitely was a good way to close this year's season out with this show, but also definitely looking forward to these upcoming shows, whether it's on free agency, the draft, all those good things, because I know there's going to be a lot of movement, a lot of surprise picks, and we're just going to be in for another crazy season next year. But thanks everybody for tuning in, for watching. Like I said, it was a pretty long episode, but hopefully you got something out of it. Hope you enjoyed it. You already know where to find us. Find the replay of this at What the Game Means to Me on Facebook, on Twitter at WTGMTM Podcast, and then on Instagram at What the Game Means to Me as well. Appreciate the people on Off the Ball Network, for rocking with us, retweeting our stuff, and we're going to continue to grow and get better at this thing. So, like I said, appreciate everybody for tuning in, and hope everybody has a good night.